And we are live. Hello everyone out there listening, and welcome to the very first episode, the launch party of the Esports Radio. I am your host, Cole Kosher Gibson, coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia. And as the music suggests, it's a mighty fine day here. We actually got a little bit of snow. Not a little bit, about an inch of it here in Georgia. Something that, we don't see often, but when we do, we all panic. So, a snow day for us out here in the big city. But enough about that. Let's talk some esports. And first of all, let me introduce what we're going to do with this show. This show is going to be centered around all things and everything esports, as the name suggests. So, and we don't discriminate. We don't cover two things and then leave an esport out. Where there's news, we go, we cover it. We talk opinions. So, League of Legends, Smite, CSGO, Overwatch League, Call of Duty World League, fighting games, you name it, we cover it. And I get to give my sometimes expert, sometimes less than expert opinion on it. But that's not what matters. All that matters is that we have fun today. So for this launch party, let's go ahead and get into our first segment, our top 11. Well, it should be 11 at 11, but we start at 12. So our top 11 at 12. And here we go. So, first piece of news for all you Call of Duty fans out there. I know you're going to love this. Team Caliber defeated Luminosity this past weekend at CWL New Orleans, become your two-time champion in Call of Duty World War II. They won off of a great series where LG took it to the second best of 5, a game 5. We didn't get around 11, but it was still an exciting series to watch. If you missed it, go back and watch it. There's a lot of great moments. Chino stepping up, Kenny, the young blood, the hot rookie stepping up as well. But Luminosity put up a great fight in this series, and we should see both these teams in a lot of top 8, top 4 finishes, if not in the finals once again, coming up for the rest of the year at the next event, CWL Atlanta as well. Moving on to our number 2 in our top 11, the Stage 1 Call of Duty Pro League groups have been confirmed after CWL New Orleans. For those of you who don't know exactly how the points were calculated, it was based off of obviously GB points plus your 2K wins, how many points you won in 2K tournaments and of the like, and also at LANs. So this was kind of the final chance for teams to get into the Pro League, and there's a lot of controversy around not only the system but around how things shook out with the Pro League. We will get to that later on in the show. But in Division A for Stage 1, we have Team Caliber, Optic Gaming, Rise Nation, Echo Fox, Doom Clan, the team of Ricky, Farrell, Bevels, and Decimate, who had to play through the open bracket to get there. Red Reserve, the European squad who shocked a lot of people coming into the tournament, making it to that top 6 finish. Team Vitality and Mind Freak, the squad from the APAC representing Australia. And then in Division B, we have Luminosity, your runner-up at CWL NOLA, E-United, FaZe, Team Envy, Evil Geniuses, who some would say stole E6's spot, but hey, I won't get into that. Like I said, I'm going to save it for the rest of the show. I'm not going to get into it right now. Splice, Unilad, and Epsilon, your 3 EU squads rounding out Division B. So these will be the teams that face off in the first stage of the Pro League. And I'm going to tell you, I'm really excited for, how this is going down in Call of Duty. I'm really excited for this league and how things have really grown from Call of Duty. I'm looking forward to fierce competition throughout Stage 1. But let's move on to our third piece of news in our top 11 at 12. We have the NA LCS Spring Split starting up, returning on January 20th. We have a new format, new franchise, new system franchising. Starting January 20th, best of ones are back in the mix. So any given day, a team can take a win off of your favorite teams. A new start time as well, beginning at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern time. And that's just the start of coverage. Pick and bans will start at 4 o'clock sharp Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific time. It will no longer be on Fridays as well. It will just be Saturdays and Sundays as they have to move EU LCS up a day to Friday. And you can watch all the games at LO Esports, Twitch, or YouTube, broadcasted right on the Riot Games channels on Twitch. Academy League information should be coming later. Our next piece of news, the rest of the leagues starting up. EU LCS starting on the 19th. Actually, that wasn't the first league to start up, though. LPL start up January 15th. We've already seen 2 great series coming out from there. We will cover the results of that in the League of Legends section. But LPL starting up. LCK also started up just last night, the 16th. Or actually yesterday morning, early on the 16th, with some great series, including a surprise that we will talk about coming up in League of Legends. But European LCS will start on Friday, January 19th. The first game of the season will be G2 versus Misfits. So be prepared for that. A rematch of your 2 finalists in the summer split. Misfits going deep into Worlds last year, getting top 8. So a lot of expectations from the boys. While G2, new roster, everyone gone except for Perks. We'll see how they pan out coming into the 2018 season. Moving on in our news, we have Awesome Games Done Quick. For those of you that don't know who that is, Awesome Games Done Quick is a event hosted every single year. Actually started last year, but it is hosted annually, where basically the speedrunning community comes together to raise money for cancer awareness. And this year they broke their record from last year, raising $2.2 million for charity, going straight to cancer research funding. It was a great event. I watched some of it. It's something that you could go to sleep to or watch for fun. It infuriates me to see people speedrun games I love and was terrible at, like Kingdom Hearts, for instance, and make it look easy while I struggle to get past master mode bosses. But it's for a great cause. Great job, guys, at Awesome Games Done Quick. Really proud of the gaming community for stepping up and being a part of that. Moving on, we have collegiate esports starting this week. Actually, starting tomorrow should be some of your first matches, I believe, or at least for me. I'm a Georgia State student. Our first game is tomorrow. We play LSU Gold. But for you college students out there, go look at your schedule. Support your collegiate League of Legends team, no matter how big or how small. The scene is growing. A report recently coming out said in 2017, 40 schools gave $4 million and above in scholarships. So the scene is definitely growing and expanding. Go out there and support your boys. Moving on, heading into at the halfway mark of our top 11 at 12. Tyler Barris, the man who was arrested in the suspected death of a Kansas man, I believe it was, in the swatting incident that happened in Call of Duty, has been charged with manslaughter, in the first degree. And this is something that we've always had an issue with in Call of Duty. In most games, you can watch it on YouTube of streamers being swatted by people that didn't really take a liking to them. And the person that he swatted, it wasn't even the right address. This is just, it's gross. It's terrible. I don't even understand why this is a thing. How can people be so immature? It's not like this guy was like 15 or 16. He was 25. This is a 25-year-old sending the SWAT team to someone's house, got an innocent man killed, a father killed because he couldn't contain his rage. But, justice should be done. What goes around comes around, and we will continue to monitor this developing story. Moving on, we are at our, if I'm counting right, 6th story, I believe. I lost track. Not good with numbers. I'm a journalism major, not my forte. But anyways, moving on. Riot and the Big Ten Network have signed a 2-year deal. A lot of people have heard about this already. Signing a 2-year deal into 2019. Now, those of you who don't know, the Big Ten Network is obviously the media network flagship for the Big Ten Conference, the collegiate conference. Many of the schools in the Big Ten being from the northeast, Midwest area. So for, that it's just another big push in esports collegiate wise, having Riot ink these partnerships with conferences. And I actually like the way this works out. There's been a lot of conversation about how the NCAA will get involved with collegiate esports if it does. I don't think it should. I think this is the correct way to do it, to sign partnerships between the conferences and the esports organizers themselves, and then let the conferences figure out. The NCAA does not need to be a part of it. But I think this is a great move. And talking about great moves, to the next piece of news, the Peach Belt Conference, a smaller, lesser-known conference, partnered with Riot Games as well recently. And they will have 11 teams, I believe, playing in a round-robin system. So it's almost like its own microcosm of the Collegiate League of Legends series that was happening already, but it's more standardized for if you're a traditional sports watcher. More like, think about football, how football works and football scheduling works. That's how it will work, basically, for the Peach Belt Conference, but they're still hashing things out. Moving on to our next piece of news. I believe this is our final piece of news. This is a kind of old one, but still significant nonetheless, and it might actually signal why KT sold their League of Legends roster to KSV. Not KSV. Was it KSV? No. Was it KSV? I'll have to look it up and remember. I personally cannot remember myself. No, they did not. I'm thinking about KSV is now Samsung. That is my bad. To all Samsung fans out there, do not barbecue me, do not skew me and roast me. But anyways, KT is under investigation for allegedly bribing the KESPA former chairman. Now, we've heard about a lot of sketchy and shady things going on, not just in Korean League of Legends. Remember last year, there was Longzhu before the season started being accused by its old roster for completely let them go of not paying the players on time and delaying payments. And this is throughout a lot of Eastern esports where there's a lot of scandals going on. I mean, I'm not saying they're the only one that has scandals happening, but it happens in the East more than it does in Western areas, to my knowledge and in my mind. So, but yes, KT under investigation for bribery, for bribing the ex-KESPA chairman. So that's a developing story. We'll see if Invin Global or any other esports websites and publications come out with any more info on that. But that will wrap up our top 11 at 12. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a commercial, guys, and we'll be right back. We'll dive right into our League of Legends segment of the show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
The notion. 50 cents for shaving cream, $1 for the lotion. Old Spice means quality, said the captain to the bosun. So look for the package with the ship that sails the ocean. Yo-ho, 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 yo-ho.
Thanks, Frank. That was swell.
I'm glad you liked it, Harry.
You know, you're a darn good-looking fellow. I'll bet you have lots of girls crazy about you.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you're just being modest. But tell me, how do you feel when you're in love?
How do I feel? My gosh, Harry, it's the most wonderful feeling in the world. Why, when I'm in love, I'm just breezing along with the breeze. I never mind the bumps or the ruts along the highway of life. I float through life on a cloud.
And that, folks, is exactly the way you feel in the famous Dodge Air Glide ride. If you haven't experienced this thrill, visit the showroom of your local Dodge dealer. See for yourself the extra value you get in this big, new, money-saving Dodge. Believe me, folks, it certainly is more car for less money. Think of it. The new Dodge Beauty winner of 1936 now sells for only $640 and up. List prices at Factory, Detroit.
Say, that is something, Harry. But how about you singing a song now?
Don't mind if I do.
And with that, we are back. I know you guys like those commercials. I enjoy them. I'm a very old soul. I don't know about that old, but hey, it's still fun either way. But like I said, we're back. About to dive into some League of Legends. Now, as I mentioned in our top 11 at 12, the results, LPL and LCK have already started. NA LCS, EU LCS will be starting on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I already have my own power rankings and predictions for those. But talking about LPL and LCK in their first week, let's look at the results that they had coming into the first week of play so far. Now, we've been through 2 days of LCK and 2 days of LPL and 1 day of LCK. And this is what we have so far. On Monday, we had Invictus Gaming versus RNG and Suning Gaming versus Top Sports Gaming. Now, Suning Gaming used to be Dan Gaming. Same roster, nothing changed, except maybe mentality. Because last year, they made the record for the worst record in LPL history. But they start off the season with a win, and they look like a much more composed team, a much more stable team. Their macro was slow and methodical, something that came as a surprise to a lot of the experts and casters that you saw. If you were able to watch the games, if you were listening, they just seemed like they just didn't even expect this type of team to come out from Suning Gaming x Dan Gaming. So congratulations to those guys. And then in the first match of the League of Legends competitive season of the LPL season, it was RNG, Royal Never Give Up versus Invictus Gaming. And Royal Never Give Up took the win, but it was a close series. They had to win it 2-1. If you didn't know, LPL did move to a best-of-3 series, but they had to win it 2-1, and they didn't play with Uzi. Uzi did not start. He did not come into that series. Not even for Game 3. They decided to experiment with the duo of Karsa and Abel before bringing in Y4 and MLXG to finish off the series. And I will not lie, I do like the way when teams actually use substitutes in groups, in duos. You know, you saw it a little bit last year. You saw it from SKT as well, where you spend an entire year developing a duo together so that when they come in, they both work well together. And apparently, and for RNG, they want that synergy between the synergy between synchronizing their jungle and their ADC. They hold that in very, very high esteem, and that's what they're aiming for. So that's how they used Abel, Karsa, Y4, and MLXG. So more power to them. They took the win. Their next game will be against Top Sports Gaming on Saturday. If you didn't know as well, LPL is on every single day of the week except for Thursday. So this is a lot of matches, a lot of time for these teams to get experience together and in the LPL as a whole for some of these new teams. So I look forward to an exciting season. And then on Tuesday, we had Billy Gaming playing Vici Gaming, and Billy getting the win over Vici, while you had Fun Plus Phoenix losing to Edward Gaming that last game. No real surprise. Edward Gaming, they're actually ranked in the top 10 in ESPN's 2018 League of Legends World Power Rankings. So top 10 for them equals they are world contenders, possibly could win a world championship in the future. So they're extremely strong, and they've always been strong. The problem with EDG has always been when they get to crunch time, they find a way to underperform and or choke. We'll see if they fix that on the international stage as well as in the LPL, because it's no doubt they will probably make finals. If they do not, it'll be a disappointment to many LPL fans, many EDG fans. But next, we're going to move on to a roster roundup here. We have a lot of teams in the LCS, and we're going to focus this roster roundup on the NA LCS and EU LCS, because those are the ones, that's the region that most of us live in. That's where, we give most of our attention to. So we're going to focus on that for those of you that might have missed a lot of the rosters that came in. And I'm going to read the entire roster, not just starters, also subs, because subs are important not only because it matters, it shows where teams' intents are, and also maybe where they have some worries at, depending on what type of roster they have and how many players they have on said roster, if it's a full 10 or just, 2 at a certain position. But it also shows you, where some of these players that people are like, oh, where is Piglet? Where are some of these other LCS players? Where is Keen? For those of you that care, where is Golden Glue? It'll let you know where these guys landed. So we're going to start off at the top of the list in the contract database with 100 Thieves, the team owned or partly owned by Nadeshot. For those of you that don't know who Nadeshot is, he is, geez, why can't I remember this man's name? He's actually, he's the one who introduced me to esports from Call of Duty, and I can't even remember this man's name. I'm a disgrace. I don't deserve to call myself an esporter, an esportser. I don't deserve it. So just destroy me right now. Put me out of my misery. Well, that's not really the most important thing. I wanted to be all professional and sound cool and be like, I know his entire name, but we're going to move on anyways, because that's not what matters. What matters is these contract databases and these rosters. So in the top lane for 100 Thieves, we have Someday coming over from Dignitas. Dignitas not making it back in the league for franchising. So Someday, and having to get rid of all their players. They did it, all the teams that could not make it in did it in a very quick time frame. They had to do it before a deadline. Otherwise, they would not be able to cash in on the money they get back from Riot for getting rid of those contracts. But anyways, Someday in the top lane, you have Meteos coming back out of semi-retirement. He was sitting on that bench for Phoenix One, mainly streaming though, not really doing anything else. Meteos in the jungle, Ryu fully coming out of retirement. Like, this guy was gone. Like, he said he had retired, but somehow 100 Thieves convinced him to come out of that, and now he'll be their starting mid laner. And then Cody Sun and Afromu being your bot lane duo. Cody Sun from Immortals, we all remember him for his play, having whatever caused him to miss that jump or to jump back in on Tristana at Worlds, and he was not the sole factor for Immortals not making it out of groups, but that is the most memorable moment. And then Afromu, ex-support, ex-team captain for Counter Logic Gaming, coming over to 100 Thieves, needed a change of venue, needed a new space to work with. So, on their substitute roster is Linsanity, Rikara, Wine, and Kitsuo. Now, a lot of these players are actually on their academy roster, but they are also eligible to be brought up into the LCS if needed. The only one, though, whose name I didn't mention off the bat was Levi. And if you know your League of Legends, you remember Levi coming from the LMS not LMS, but coming over from Vietnam, from Gigabyte Marines, the star-studded superstar jungler for that team that was attributed with a lot of their success coming over, but he is not eligible to play in the LCS. You have to imagine it's because of something to do with maybe visa issues, maybe my point is something to do with, paperwork, red tape that keeps him from being eligible in the LCS, but he can play for the academy team. Moving on to Cloud9, you have Licorice in the top lane, young Challenger Series talent. A lot of people hype about this kid. He'll probably have an adjustment period, but we'll probably see him do a lot of big things coming in to 2018 and beyond. You have Sven Skaren jumping from TSM over to Cloud9. That traitor. And I know it kind of reveals where some of my allegiances lie for the season, but I'm just kidding. No. Svenskeren, he didn't really mesh with TSM in the scheme the years he was there as well as they needed him to. He needed a new opportunity. They want to sign a new jungler, so it worked out. He moves over to Cloud9 as their jungler. Let's see if Cloud9 can bring him back to old SK Svenskeren. Bring back Fat Skeren. Now, that's what everyone wants. They want Fat Skeren. They want the guy that was aggressive. Yeah, he might have been a little bit toxic, but he played stellar. He had stellar performances all the time. So in the mid lane, as usual, you have Jensen, Sneaky at AD carry, and Smoothie at support. So nothing's changed there. And then their substitute slash on their academy team is Shiro in the top lane, Wiggly in jungle, Golden Glue in the mid lane. Yes, Golden Glue, Vault Boy on Cloud9. Cloud9 fans, I know they're crying just for having him in the organization, but we're going to move beyond that. That's old Team Liquid biases. It's a new year, new me. So we have Keith at AD carry and Zazel at support. Now, I really like Zazel. If you don't know who he is, he was on EU9's roster at support, and he did really like that. EU9 roster was really, really good, and I believe the only teams that they lost to consistently was when they made it to the relegation tournament to actual LCS teams, and it wasn't even like bad losses. It was close losses. He was a big part of that. And then obviously their coach Reapered. And I also did not mention 100 Thieves coach. That will be Prawley hopping over back to the U.S. He didn't coach in the U.S. before. He did play for Complexity Gaming back in the day, but he is from Atlanta, so we homeboys. Not really, Prawley. If you ever hear my radio show, just hit me up, and we can make something happen. We can make things happen. We can make money moves. But yeah, he hopped over from across the pond. On to our next roster, though, we have Clutch Gaming, where Solo in the top lane, Lyra, Febivin in the mid lane, Apollo at AD carry, and Hakuho at support. You have Max Trobo in the top on their academy team, Moon at jungle, Sun in the mid lane. You get that? Moon, Sun? I wonder if they play Pokemon together. I wonder. Interesting questions. But anyway, then you have Piglet coming over from Team Liquid, making his next move, but on the academy roster, not on the starting roster, the academy roster with his support Vulcan. Now, 3 of those players, Max Trobo, Piglet, and Vulcan, are not eligible to play in the LCS, so they will be permanent academy fixtures for the entirety of the season. Eclipse is their backup AD carry as well, so there you go. Like I said, concerns possibly showing. He was just signed on the 29th of January, so maybe they're concerned if for whatever reason Piglet isn't eligible in the LCS, it might cause him not to be able to play in the Academy League. Or maybe they're concerned of Piglet's past issues outside of the game with his attitude, meltdowns. We all saw Breaking Point and saw exactly what Piglet can be like on a bad day. So maybe he's there for that as well. And then you have D-Lim coming back as head coach. So D-Lim, old Team Liquid head coach for just a short period of time, didn't give them the results they wanted, obviously, and was bumped back down to assistant coach, I believe, or head analyst when they brought in their next coach. But let's keep moving down the list because we have a lot to cover still, and we still have to go through EU. So moving on to Counterlogic Gaming, their roster pretty much stayed the same except for 2 players. Rainover coming into the jungle. Actually not Contracts. Contracts didn't play for Counterlogic Gaming. Omar God. And I guess you can count Dardoch as well, even though he was gone way earlier than this. Omar God dropping down to the academy team. CLG picking up Rainover and Biofrost at support. Yes, Biofrost did get let go by TSM, and he is moving on to Counterlogic Gaming. So look for those 2 to be the X factors for this team. But the rest of the roster, Darshan, who he sticks a, still there. And on their academy team, you have Fallen Bandit in the top lane, Omar God at jungle, Tuesday at mid, blowing that club up on Tuesday in the mid lane, Zag at AD carry, and then Phil at support with Zix as the head coach. Zix not going anywhere. A lot of fans were relieved to see him come back. There was some speculation about what his position would be, but they did bring him back, and a lot of fans are happy about it. Zix, one of the best coaches, a lot of the best coaches, one of the best coaches, I'm sorry, in League of Legends. So great to have him back if you're a Counterlogic Gaming fan. Echo Fox, now this is the roster that everyone is watching, and not for a good reason, but we will get into that later on in the League of Legends in this hour. We'll get onto that later in this hour. So, in the top lane, they have Huni. Yes, that Huni. SKT Huni. The guy, he came back to the States from Korea. I don't want to say it was performance issues, because at Worlds, he did show up for them in a big way. I'm talking big time. But just not liking the vibe at SKT. I want to say he was on the same vibe as Peanut, where the expectations were too high, and it just wasn't a good environment for Huni to thrive in. But then you got Dardoch in the jungle. Talking about environments going from one to another to thrive in, quote unquote. You have Dardoch in the jungle. The Kid. The Don. The mechanically toxic monster, who has been known for being just so toxic, and at the same time saying he's reformed, but keeps bouncing from team to team. And now on CLG, though, they didn't say he had toxicity issues. They just said that he didn't fit their mold of what they're looking for. So maybe he has reformed. We just didn't get a chance to see it all the way through. Anyways, moving on, we have Phoenix in the mid lane talking about reform. Alltech at AD carry and Adrian at support. Alltech is probably one of the only players I can say on this roster that without a doubt isn't toxic, or at least is the least toxic of all these players. We'll see how this roster shakes out. Everyone has their doubts, but maybe they can prove us wrong. But anyways, their academy team, you have Alorm in the top lane. Odd Orange at jungle. Damonte in the mid lane, or Damont, however you want to say it. Lost at AD carry. Papacho at support, and Inero as the head coach. That's right, Inero making that move to head coach. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I got that confused with Inori. Not Inori. This is someone different. So, blunders aside, we're gonna keep rolling on through. On FlyQuest, we have Flame in the top lane, Onda in jungle, Fly in the mid lane, Wild Turtle at AD carry, and Stun at support. A lot of young names, unproven names, but at the same time, who knows? You know, they might be able to make this roster work out. The one thing I do know is, looking at the database, though, is that Fly's name is under the blue section, which means he's on the reserve roster. He's not eligible to play in the LCS yet. So, quite possibly that means maybe visa issues of some sort, but he is not eligible for LCS, so they probably have to go with Keen as their mid laner for now. So let's move over to that academy roster. You have Ingo in the top lane, Shrimp in jungle, Keen in the mid lane, Airy at AD carry, and JJ at support, Rapid Star as their coach. Golden Guardians, you have Lorlo in the top lane, Contracts in jungle, High in the mid lane, Deftly at AD carry, Matt at support, and Bob Jenkins. Oh wait, Bob Jenkins is the starter for their academy team. Potluck, the jungler, Bob Quinn in mid lane, Jurassic at AD carry, and Xpecial at support with Loco Doco coaching. Optic Gaming. And I'm going to keep burning right through this because we still have some rosters to go, and we still have to get to EU. So I'm going to burn right through them, and we can wrap back on who to watch, what teams to watch when I move on to that segment in this hour of the show. So for Optic Gaming, we have Zig in the top lane, Acadian in the jungle, Power of Evil at the mid lane, Arrow at AD carry, Elimination at support. Their academy roster is Dakla in the top lane, Kadir in jungle, Palafox in the mid lane, Andy Bindi at AD carry, and Winter at support, with Zabutin being the head coach. For Team Liquid, you have Impact in the jungle, Impact in the top lane, Xsmithy in the jungle, Pobelter at mid, Double Lift at AD carry, Ole at support, Viper in the top lane for their academy team, Hard in the jungle, Mickey in mid lane, Shiryu at AD carry, and Joey at support, and their coach will be Kane. And then for TSM, the Golden Boys, the loves of my life, we have Hauntzer in the top lane, Mike Young, don't call me Mike Young in jungle, Bjerger King, the king of the mid lane, Bjergsen in the mid lane, Sven at AD carry, and Mithi at support. For their academy team, we have Brandini in the top lane, Grig at jungle, Ablaze Olive in the mid lane, Mr. Rawls at AD carry, Shady at support, and the odd one in the jungle with Song being their head coach. So now let's go ahead and hop over the pond. Let's hop over to EU as we're already 35 minutes into the first hour and run through these very quickly now. Thankfully, a lot of these rosters don't have as many subs as North America does, so we can run through these. They don't have the franchising system with the academy team, so you don't have to worry about that one. So for Misfits, you have Alfari in the top lane, Maxlor in the jungle, Sinkux in the mid lane, Hansama at AD carry, Mickey X at support, and Hiva as their support substitute with Daku as their head coach. Yes, actually, that is Hussein Musvi. For any of you that, might have panicked at, his official summoner name being Daku, because in a lot of his interviews and other things, and the articles he writes and other things, he goes by his full name, Hussein Musvi. That is actually their coach. He has not changed at all. Moving on to Fnatic. Soaz in the top lane. Broxa at jungle. Caps in the mid lane. Reckless at AD carry. Hillisang at support with Jezz as his support backup. And Bwipo in the top lane. For G2 Esports, you have Wonder in the top lane now. Yankos at jungle. Perks in the mid lane. Hjarnan at AD carry. Wadid at support. And Saker as their top lane substitute. H2K, Smitty J in the top lane, Santorin jungle, Cadril mid, Sheriff AD carry, Promise You support, and Candy Floss at the jungle. And to be honest, do the rest of these lineups matter? Maybe two of them. I'll read through the two that actually matter at the back end of this. I'm not shy about calling out when teams are bad or not on this show, man. It's just a part of life. If your team sucks, it sucks to suck. So, moving on, we have Odoamne in the top lane for Splice. Yes, not HK, for Splice. Xerxes in the jungle. Once again, yes, for Splice. Niski in the mid lane. Yes, once again, for Splice. Kabi at AD carry, and then Kasing at support with Inaxa coming in as their AD carry, and Peter Dunn as their head coach. Unicorns of Love, will read this just because it's Unicorns of Love, They're fan favorites for, everybody. If you don't like the Unicorns of Love, then you got a problem. Anyways, you have White Knight in the top lane. Cold, a.k.a. Trashy, in the jungle. Exila in the mid lane. Samix at AD carry. And Totoro at support with Audrey Lasapa as their support substitute. I don't think they worry about that. She is actually, I believe she's Sheepy's girlfriend. One of their girlfriends, and she's just there to make sure they have a sub on the roster. And then I believe that's pretty much the only ones that matter. The rest of these rosters are subpar. Actually, you know what? We'll read through Schalke's. And I guess you can tell where I'm going with my future power rankings and predictions by what rosters I'm reading out right now. But for FC Schalke 04, your newest additions to the EU LCS, you have Visit Chachi in the top lane, Pride, aka he used to be Pride Stalker in the jungle, Nuke Duck in the mid lane, Upset at AD carry, Vander at support, and then Boris, aka Crepo at support. If you don't know, Crepo is the team general manager, basically, for lack of a better term. He's not the coach, he's the team's general manager, however. And so that is your roster roundup. I'm going to head to a quick commercial break, guys. But when we come back, we will talk about my primer. I'll give you a list of who to watch and what teams to watch for the coming LCS season, at least for the NA LCS. Now, I was kind of late to the EU LCS party, so I do not have one set and ready for them. But when it comes to NA LCS, I'm always ready. So when we come back, we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about my power rankings and my weekend predictions, as well as looking at the ESPN World's power rankings, because I see a lot of Koreans in the top 10, which you expect, but one team that I actually didn't expect to see in the top 10 again after their performance last year at Worlds. But don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this quick break.
for score. It's a little bit of damage in onto him, but instead they want Smeb. He's going to be the juicier target, the easier one to lock down. Event Horizon not quite going to be able to lock him in. He's got that orange to keep himself safe, and Smeb, will he make it out of here alive? Event Horizon comes down.
Oh, it just does.
No,
Wait,
he
no.
made it out! Are you kidding me, Smeb?
Thirsty people everywhere prefer ice-cold Pepsi-Cola. And because it's light, it refreshes without filling.
Charlie, be sociable.
I am, Kay. Pepsi is a favorite of thirsty people from Maine to Hawaii, from Alaska to Florida.
Charlie,
It's perfect for parties or picnics, so serve Pepsi to your guests.
that's helpful, but
This is the sociable part. Keep plenty of Pepsi ice-cold and ready. Remember, it goes fast because everybody likes Pepsi.
singing still sounds more inviting. May I? Be sociable, look smart, keep up to date with Pepsi. Drink light, refreshing Pepsi. Stay young and fair and debonair. Be sociable, have a Pepsi.
But singing doesn't say, pick up an extra carton of Pepsi today. Better yet, get a case.
You do that.
Thanks, Frank. That was swell.
I'm glad you liked it, Harry.
You know, you're a darn good-looking fellow. I'll bet you have lots of girls crazy about you.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you're just being modest. But tell me, how do you feel when you're in love?
How do I feel? My gosh, Harry, it's the most wonderful feeling in the world. Why, when I'm in love, I'm just breezing along with the breeze. I never mind the bumps or the ruts along the highway of life. I float through life on a cloud.
And that, folks, is exactly the way you feel in the famous Dodge Air Glide ride. If you haven't experienced this thrill, visit the showroom of your local Dodge dealer. See for yourself the extra value you get in this big, new, money-saving Dodge. Believe me, folks, it certainly is more car for less money. Think of it. The new Dodge Beauty winner of 1936 now sells for only $640 and up. List prices at Factory Detroit.
Say, that is something, Harry. But how about you singing a song now?
Don't mind if I do.
And we're back right now with the Esports Radio Show. Once again, I'm Cole Gibson, and moving on in our League of Legends hour right now, we're going to talk about who to watch and what teams to watch coming in to the LCS. Now, this is mainly, actually, all of it is for the NA LCS, for good reason, because EU LCS doesn't matter. Nah, I'm just kidding. No, for real though. I'm just late to the party on the EU LCS. Did a lot of my research for NA. When time came, I was like, well, you know, gotta do what you gotta do, fella. So let's go ahead and get into this. We're gonna go into who to watch first, because I think this is the most interesting part of the year. We had so much, influx of talent and just infusion of talent into the LCS, and it was just interesting to see who teams picked up. And it was very interesting to see where some of these players that got dropped off of prominent rosters went to, some of them, you might have expected maybe like Svenskeren and some of these other talents that have been in North America for so long to go back to EU maybe and find a place there with a lot of teams in a lot of need. But even Froggen, like if he couldn't find a place in the LCS in franchising, I know there's more money in NA LCS right now because of franchising, but I still want to say there's a little bit of a competitive aspect to where if you don't think you're going to get on a starting roster and you have a big enough competitor, you might want to try and look for somewhere you can actually play. But Froggen even went he just said he's going to take a break after Echo Fox. I imagine that Echo Fox went to him and talked to him about his future, and he said, I want to take a break. And I respect that decision, but, it's still surprising seeing as much money as he could have made in franchising just from being on a starting or sub roster. But I'm going to use that to segue into my players to watch. Now, I have one for each position on the map, so that's top, jungle, support, AD carry, and mid lane. And we're going to go ahead and rattle off our number one. This is in the jungle spot, and this is Svenskeren. I call him Cloud9's new living ward, as a little bit of a pun toward his time with TSM. But Sven definitely started off hot with TSM, but Then I believe what happened is that the competition started to come up, or catch up. They started to get better, and as time went on, his performance dwindled, and it kind of came to a head this last year, not only in the NA LCS, but also in his performance at Worlds, And so, for example, some stats here. Yes, I brought out stats. Is for the summer of 2017 for NA LCS, he balled out with a 3.2 KDA, respectable. He was tied for 6th with Dardoch and Mike Young. His death percentage, though, was number 1 in North America, which is a byproduct of how TSM used him in their system of using aggressive invades to get deep vision to protect Bjergsen and Haunter so that they could basically roll over their solo lanes, while Doublelift and Biofrost were just meant to sort of survive. Biofrost might roam up to go help Bjergsen, but mainly it was a lot of warding done to protect the bottom lane, and then also enable the 2 solo laners to play extremely aggressive. So he basically was kind of a living ward. A lot of those deaths were 1v1 first bloods or him getting caught out invading in the jungle. But at the same time, a lot of them were situations where he didn't have to be there. I remember one such example was how he died one time, well, several times in the world, but it was the Gragas game where, yes, TSM was able to, clean up the fight and turn into an advantage, but it started off with Svenskeren being caught somewhere where he shouldn't be in the top side river, trying to place down wards, and he just looked somewhat lost, and Svenskeren was never known before TSM as a very highly communicative player on his roster. We all know he was an aggressive Kha'Zix Lee Sin player. He's a Lee Sin god, but he wasn't highly communicative, and he especially wasn't the early game leader that TSM needed him to be in the way they played the game. And it really reflected at Worlds, as I mentioned before. Some more stats for Worlds. He had a 1.7 KDA. That was 17th out of 18 junglers. The only one that did worse than him was, I believe, the jungler for 1907 Fenerbahce, who I can't remember who he was, but I think his KDA was worse. His death percentage was 2nd compared to actually MLXG, who had the highest death percentage. His first blood percentage was 18th, but I'm not going to chalk that up to him because I don't think anyone on TSM got any first bloods. I think across the board, their first blood percentage was 0. But in both instances of LCS Summer and at Worlds, he was behind in gold, experience, and CS at 10 minutes on average. And you can equate that to, well, yes, he was spending a lot of his time getting vision and helping out solo lanes, but usually that will reflect in how much gold he gets and experience, because, you get gold for kills and assists, and you also get experience for those kills and assists. And so it would translate, but he was behind in all of those in both Summer and at Worlds. So you had to think some things were missing, some pieces were missing, and we all saw that. TSM fans saw that, casual observers saw that. And then most importantly in the stats is his wards per minute and wards cleared per minute. Now, if he's supposed to be warding for his solo laners, yes, being a living ward is fine, but you also have to help Biofrost ward out for TSM. And you didn't really see that. He was 11th and 18th in wards per minute and wards cleared per minute, respectively, at Worlds. And he was 3rd at wards placed for junglers, but wards cleared per minute, he was 7th. And one thing that you notice from not only Biofrost when he left is, for Bio, yeah, he was low on wards placed, actually, on average for a jungle in the NA LCS and at Worlds. But at the same time, his wards cleared per minute was 3rd in both scenarios. I believe he was first in the NALCS, and he was 3rd in at Worlds. So, it's kind of like that's just what you have to do for TSM if you're at the support and jungle position. You have to be prepared to be not only a living ward, but also place and clear wards, because a lot of their game, it's a vision-heavy play style. They play around a lot of vision and vision denial, and that's how they play, and Svenskeren didn't fit their mold for all 3 reasons. So he just wasn't very communicative, he wasn't a very good early game leader, and then the stuff they did ask him to do, he was subpar at already. But let me go off this Svenskeren spiel and tell you why he is a player to watch. He's a player to watch. He has tremendous upside, but also a horrifying downside, Like the stats suggest, when it comes to anything else outside of trying to really hard carry a team on Kazakhs and junglers that are assassins or heavy damage bruisers, he's subpar. And that can really hate Cloud9 coming from someone like Contracts, who was, he could definitely carry you, but also he was able to play these tanks that were more supportive style jungle picks for Cloud9 when they needed to give Jensen a lot of attention in the mid lane, when they needed to give that bot lane Sneaky a little bit of pressure relief. Contracts could do that, and if you're Svenskeren is not going to be as efficient if he's forced to stick around the mid lane for forever trying to babysit Jensen through the mid lane. Contracts had his most jungle proximity around the mid lane, more than any other jungler in the NA LCS, and it's because they want to get Jensen ahead. And I think, personally, if Svenskeren is forced to babysit Jensen instead of being able to go in and look for the 1v1 trading with the enemy jungler and counter jungle and be aggressive, then he's just not going to do well for them at all. Maybe in the long run, because it's franchising, so he does have long-term results to look forward to. They can mold him to be what they need if that's the type of style they want to play. But if they let Svenskeren play the way SK Fatskeren played, where it's just, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to challenge the enemy jungler, I'm taking all of his farm, anytime I see him, I will kill him. All I need you guys to do is not die in lane. I will ward for you as much as I can, but I'm not focused really on, ganking as much as I am about shutting the enemy jungler down. I think that he can have a lot of success for Cloud9. Moving on to our next player to watch, it will be Huni, the top laner for Echo Fox. Huni is the player to watch mainly because not only will he get the most resources like he has on every other team he's played for, even SKT, but also he's the only player with the best results in Echo Fox. No one on Echo Fox's roster really has had any powerful international or even domestic results outside of Huni. He'll be considered, the best player on that team, and everyone will look up to him. I mean, yeah, in LCK, he struggled. He was, 14th in KDA, had the fourth highest death percentage. His damage, though, was still out of this world. His gold percentage, even for those stats, which makes it look a little bit more underwhelming, was, third. He had 23.2% of his team's gold on average per game. But at the same time, he only played 16 games, and he still had the second highest damage percentage per game on average in the LCK. And at Worlds, he went off. At Worlds, he was 6th in KDA. He was third still, yes, in death percentage, but he made up for that in his first blood percentage and how he participated in kills. His damage percentage, it was off the charts. He definitely had one of his best performances since coming off of Fnatic on the international stage, and he'll be looked up to. He will be looked up to by these teammates, and if he cannot lead this team, which I've never really seen Huni lead a team, if he cannot lead this team, they'll probably fall apart. They'll just fall apart like dominoes. But if he can step into that leadership role and take command of this team, we might see some good stuff out of Echo Fox. I'm not going to count on it, but that's the one outlier I give them, the one chance I give them to actually have a chance of, doing well in this split is through Huni, their top laner. And the meta fits him. The meta fits him, and it fits Svenskeren right now with just how much flexibility you have in runes and what you can do with items, especially on these aggressive bruiser top laners and these aggressive junglers. We could see a big year from Huni and Svenskeren. But let's move on to our third player to watch. It will be Power of Evil, Tristan Schrage, I believe that's how you say his last name, coming over across the pond from EU, joining Optic Gaming as their mid laner. And this guy is the picturesque sign of high-level consistency. Let me read you these numbers from the EU LCS. He had a 4.3 KDA, 4th overall. He had a 75.5% kill participation. That's first overall in the EU LCS among mid laners. His first blood percentage was 4th, damage percentage was 2nd, and gold percentage was 1st. And this was all while he still was behind, and only slightly, but still behind in XPCS, and only ahead slightly in gold at 10 minutes on average. Means he was not receiving a whole bunch of resources from his team. And you saw that. You saw in the iteration where it was Kakao and even Maxlore playing, he did receive some ganks, but he was not the focal point of ganks by Misfits. You know, he was relied on to be self-sustaining, being able to hold his own in lane, and he did that against some of the best talent in the EU. And it translated over into Worlds. You know, here are his World stats. All great stuff. KDA, 4.9, 3rd overall. Kill participation, 73.7, 6th overall, but it's still insanely high considering some of the competition he was facing at Worlds and how high they placed. First blood percentage, 25%, 4th. Damage percentage, 2nd. Gold percentage, 5th. And that's out of a list of, I believe, the 7 or 8 mid laners who were eligible, i.e. mid laners. And that's for all these guys. A lot of the world stats, I had to base it on people who played 10 matches or more, except for in certain instances where some players, you know, their team bowed out early out of Worlds, in which case it was kind of open to the entire field. But for players who played more than 10 games, you know, I had to base it on other players that played more than 10 games instead, because I remember there was like a player that was ahead of Power of Evil, but he only played 3 games and he had a high KDA, so I couldn't match that up. It doesn't make any sense. But this is against mid laners like Xiaohu, you know, played 10 games or more at Worlds. So out of 8 mid laners that were eligible, he's placing in the top 4 or 5 of them consistently, except in kill participation, you know. And it's going to be the same criteria for him on Optic Gaming. Can he be consistent for this team? Can he be that rock where a lot of their inconsistencies come in the top lane in Zig, where the top lane talent is stacked this year, and who knows if Zig will be able to keep up. Akaden, who's had up and down results. Arrow, who had a down year last year, but will he return to old Arrow form when P1 went on that tear at Rift Rivals and before then when they were a playoff team? And then Elimination, who knows what he still has left in the tank. It'll be up to Power of Evil to be the front of the Optic Gaming ship, at the forefront, waving the helm, the mast, whatever you do when you stand at the front of a ship when people flank you. It's sad. I used to be an RTC. I should know this stuff. But it'll be up to him. Now, I think this year will be a year of adjustment for Power of Evil, but I think that if he can adjust correctly, if he can adjust well in the coming years, like this year, you know, the NA EU move, there's a lot of intangibles, getting used to the area. Like, yeah, you've been to NA a couple times for Worlds and other international tournaments, but it's not the same as living here permanently, so he'll have to get used to things. It'll be like a culture shock maybe, but once he does, I expect big things from him. Moving on to our 4th spot, this will cover the AD carry position. It's none other than the confidence god himself, the king of AD carry, or at least the self-proclaimed king. He likes to call himself the king whenever he can. Doublelift, Mr. Peter Yiliang Ping, Mr. Doublelift, the man himself. He is on Team Liquid this year, and this year he's a player to watch because he's looking for redemption. He's coming off with a bigger chip on his shoulder than he usually does, because he had the worst performance at Worlds of his career. His North American stats were solid. In the region, summer 2017, solid. All of them were the picture of consistency for a team that really were not relying on him to carry, just be a consistent damage threat from the bottom lane. But at Worlds, I'll just read you off these stats, and they're just sad. They're almost sickening coming from your boy Doublelift. KDA was 1.8. He was 15th out of a field of 16 AD carries. Death percentage, 2nd highest among AD carries. Damage percentage was last. Gold percentage was last. And damage per minute was 14th out of 16. And that's even more significant because he only had a little bit higher DPM in the summer split, and he was first among 80 carries in North America. That just shows you, I guess, how much North America on average relies on their 80 carries last year, not just for Doublelift. But the point is, he had what is probably his worst performance at Worlds. So he's coming in with a big chip on his shoulder. At the same time, this is a Doublelift who has a lot of weight off his shoulders. He doesn't have to fill that leadership role that he did last year because he's no longer trying to, I won't say carry, but lead his support, in the bottom lane, and also trying to help with shot calling because TSM had a, everyone's input matters shot calling dynamic work, but it was still mainly Bjergsen and Doublelift with the shot calling, and then everyone else throwing things in as well. They have a stacked squad. They have Impact in the top lane, who has enough game knowledge when he has to, will know exactly what he needs to do without people telling him what to do. Smithy, great macro shot caller and in-game leader. You have Pobelter, the pinnacle of consistency in the NA LCS when he's on a good team. And even when he's on a bad team, Pobelter has always been consistent. You also have, as his support, you have Ole, who's also a very good shot caller and in-game leader, and also has a lot of game knowledge. So Doublelift will not have that same weight on his shoulders. At the same time, he brings great intangibles like game knowledge. Doublelift has been in LCS for so long and playing the game so long, he knows what he's doing. He doesn't need people telling him what to do. And he has enough confidence for 2 LCS teams. So I expect big things out of the kid. I think he's going to come in just swing. He's going to come in swinging. There won't be any more taking a break for the spring split. I think his performance at Worlds kind of shocked him out of that mindset of, spring split doesn't matter. Because coming off spring into summer, a lot of people want to contribute some of the issues TSM had. Well, maybe what if Doublelift didn't take that break? What if he didn't go off for, the spring split and take that break and had to come back and kind of readjust and, fit himself back in on a team where Hanser started to be more vocal as a shot caller with Bjergsen, and it was just a lot of moving pieces. So he's the AD carry that I expect to, come out and have the best performance in the NA LCS, at least for the spring split of 2018. And then for my support pick, I have Mithy, the boy, the Don, him and his indomitable duo in Sven coming over from EU. And I highlight Mithy because Mithy has a very important piece to play. Not only will he be assume some of the in-game leadership roles, probably a majority of it, because he's always been lauded as a very good shot caller. It's also because TSM will have to look to him to widen his strengths as a support. A lot of the criticism against Mithy is that he has an inflexible support pool. A lot of people, he has a great Alistar, he plays a lot of good engaged tank supports very well, but then after that, it's kind of like decent to average or below average performances, and he will have to not only expand his support pool because they will just ban him out, but also have to expand the way he plays the early game because, like I mentioned earlier, TSM plays a lot of vision-heavy style where they expect the support to roam early to try and get the early vision to protect the bottom lane duo, which he did that for G2, but not just do that, but also help protect Bjergsen, help set Bjergsen up and enable him, as well as possibly make map moves as far as level, 2, 3, 4 ganks in the mid lane as support. And as I stated earlier, to that point, Bob lost, 7 out of 13 in wards per minute in the LCS, but he was 3rd out of the 13 supports in wards cleared per minute in the summer regular season, and he was top 10 in wards cleared at Worlds. So they were relying on him in that vision game. Can he get beyond that mindset of early game? It's just me and Sven in the 2v2 duo. I'm going to ward up for us to make sure we don't get ganked and we're going to dominate. Can he juggle both? We've seen Sven be able to basically have consistently good performances by himself, although we judge Sven more on how does he help the team, not just, pad his stats. But can Mithy break out of that shell? And if he can, TSM, that's the piece that TSM needed to move on to the next level, I think, is they need, a better jungler, and then I won't say a better support, because I'm not going to go after my boy Biofrost like that and say that he was bad, but a more independent support, I think, is a better word for it. And can he be a more independent support for his team? I think he will be. I think this TSM team, I think they can make big waves. There's not the spring split and summer split and possibly become international contenders like we say they should be every single year. But I'm going to jump straight into, the teams to watch for the year. And then we're going to hit, because we're coming up on a commercial break where I'm going to take a break before going to my power rankings and week 1 predictions. But we're going to finish up teams to watch. And my first team to watch, obviously, I mean, who wouldn't be watching this team is Team Liquid? You know, they've assembled the strongest squad on paper of any LCS team coming in to the league. And it's because they have 5 veterans who, except for Impact, have all played together. So there will be very little adjustment period to playing together. You know, a lot of the players on the team either played with each other on Immortals or Team Liquid or CLG at some time, except for Impact. And I don't think it'll be too difficult to, integrate Impact into that system. I believe Ole is bilingual in both Korean and English, so there's always that form of communication between them. They have 3 strong in-game leaders that can always take over shot calling or contribute in double with Ole and Smithy. And I'm looking for a top 3 finish, if not first place in the LCS for the spring and summer split, and good international placings if they can get past the Team Liquid curse. But we also have to look for, on the negative side, what I call a perfect storm glass house effect. I think Team Liquid is the perfect storm team, like a lot of these super squads, super teams are, which is they come in and you expect big things from on paper. Everything looks good, you know. If everything works out right, they should dominate everybody. But at the same time, that perfect storm comes, if everything goes wrong, it's like a glass house and everything falls apart. Nothing works right. You have, I won't say last place, but a mediocre, maybe like a 5th, 6th finish, and no one's satisfied. And these are the teams that fall apart the fastest. We all know this team was basically bought with money, aka paid by Steve. So, you know, you gotta look out. If they work out, it's gonna be an extremely good squad. If they don't, it's gonna be very disappointing, and it's gonna be just another Team Liquid cursed squad, it seems like, with another 4th, 5th, 6th finish. The next team that I picked to watch right now is Clutch Gaming. You know, a lot of people, they are taking this team for granted, I wanted to say. You know, they're not, they're underestimating this squad. And I don't understand why. Every single player is proven to have been solid on their squads, except for Solo, who's coming from Challenger Series, but Solo was actually very good in the Challenger Series. The only time he faltered was against some, LCS talent, but he has time to adjust. It's franchising. This is long term. He has time to adjust to the LCS and get better, and until then, they can put him on top laners such as, Shin, Maokai, things that can still make plays and team fights and global plays and impact the game, but doesn't need a whole bunch of resources and time and attention in the top lane. Treat him like Zig or like Impact whenever Impact's on tanks. Just put him on something where he won't, unless he really, really makes a mistake in lane, he shouldn't come out poorly into the mid-late game. And then you have Lyra, who is the king of, leadership right now. If you didn't know, on Envy, Apollo basically credited him with not only being the team's captain and leading them in game, but also coaching the team on how to play the game better overall. So this dude that was basically a player coach last year took Envy to a top 6 finish. I expect him to be able to do even more with Febivin in the mid lane. Febivin, one of the most consistent mid laners in EU. Consistently good, too. Not just consistently average or decent. I'm talking about consistently good. No matter what team he's played on, Febivin has always had great stats. I think Lyra will be able to unlock and unleash the monster that's Febivin and allow him to, give top mid laners in North America like Bjergsen and Power Evil a run for their money. And you have Hakuho and Apollo in the bottom lane, who both had very solid years last year for Envy. No complaints from them. Apollo had a breakout year, and Hakuho was right there behind him. And maybe back in the old days of LCS, where it was best of 3 last year, this might have been like, I don't think they can pull out in the best of 3. But in a best of 1 format, anyone can take a game off anybody. And I'm not saying Clutch Gaming is going to be a powerful team that can challenge Team Liquid or TSM, but I believe that they can win enough best of 1s to get top 6 and finish top 6 and then keep growing from there. So that's what you should look for from them, as a top 6 finish. Now, third team to look for, and it's kind of like a why not look at them, is Echo Fox. super risky edgelord, Rick Fox, taking every single edgelord in LCS right now and putting him on one squad. And if it works out, it could be one of the most talented rosters in LCS. If it doesn't work out, epic collapse. Now, I'm leaning more toward the epic collapse side than the surprise top 4 finish side. But if it all works out and they can fix everything, this team is good enough on paper with as much talent as they have on the roster to possibly have a top 4 finish in the best of 1 format. So look out for that one. For my 4th team, rounding up almost at the end of it before we hit this commercial break, the 4th team is 100 Thieves. I think before I was skeptical of this team. I still am a bit skeptical, but, my skepticism was a little bit put at bay once they signed Afromu. They had Someday in the top lane, great individual talent, but you saw on Dignitas, at times, that didn't matter, his individual talent, because either it was almost like either Someday carried the game, or if he couldn't carry hard enough, Dignitas would lose. And then they picked up Meteos, who's been in semi-retirement. In his last bit of time with P1, he didn't even participate in scrims. He was just streaming, and that was it. So he was basically in semi-retirement. And you have Ryu, who was in 100% retirement, coming back after, he basically checked out in P1. And the question is, first of all, can they keep Meteos and Ryu engaged for 100% of the season? And not just if they have success, if they're not having success. If the season starts out rough for 100 Thieves, can they keep Meteos and Ryu engaged and participating in the squad? If they can, they have the veteran leadership, the veteran skill, the in-game leader, the veteran leadership, and talent to be a top 6 contender. And it's also a question of will the meta fit, but for a lot of these teams, that's a similar question. But I feel like for this team, it's mostly will the meta fit. Will the meta fit Ryu? Will it fit Someday, and will it fit Meteos? If it fits all 3 of those players, they have the tools to possibly challenge for top 6 in the LCS. And let's not forget Codison as well. Yes, he flubbed up at Worlds, but he was still one of the top 80 carries in North America. I don't expect that performance to dip anytime soon. And then finally, the final squad I'm looking out for, I got my eye on, is FlyQuest. And I never thought I'd be saying that I'm watching a team for success from FlyQuest on a team that has Wild Turtle on it. Like both these. I never thought I'd say FlyQuest, look out for them, and then a team with Wild Turtle on it, period. For years, I've been a Wild Turtle critic. I don't really like how he plays the game. It's too risky. It's really reckless. When it works, it's really, really great. But he's had a lot more times where it doesn't work, and he looks like, it's like, Wild Turtle, what are you doing? But on paper, this squad does work. Onda, one of the top jungle prospects from Challenger Series, was on IMT's Immortals substitute roster last year, and so was Stunt. Both of these top players at their positions as far as projections. So it'll be up to veterans like Flame. Oh, I hate saying this. Wild Turtle. Oh, that hurt. Veterans in Flame and Wild Turtle to find a way to lead this team from a veteran status. And my question is, who's going to step up as their in-game leader, and how can they maximize the talent on this roster? If they find someone who can maximize the talent on this roster and also be a great in-game leader, I'm looking for a top 6 finish on this team, maybe even being able to challenge the top 3 teams in best of ones and take some games off of them, because they have a lot of young and or unproven talent. Fly, I don't count him. He's not young. He's been around the scene, but I don't count him as proven because he's been in a lot of substitute roles, and he's only started, I believe, one time in a starting role, and it didn't really pan out, but it was kind of wishy-washy. So I'm looking for him to possibly prove himself this season. If they can put all the pieces of the puzzle together like Exodia, then they will obliterate. They have the chance to obliterate any competition that gets in their way. But guys, we are about to hit a nice little commercial break. I will bring us back very soon with my power rankings and week 1 predictions for the NA LCS and EU LCS seasons. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
RNG were overextending towards, but we got to watch Ming. He knows exactly what Jackie Love's going to do, even before he thinks about it.
Read him like a book and let...
Thanks, Frank. That was swell.
I'm glad you liked it, Harry.
You know, you're a darn good-looking fellow. I'll bet you have lots of girls crazy about you.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you're just being modest. But tell me, how do you feel when you're in love?
How do I feel? My gosh, Harry, it's the most wonderful feeling in the world. Why, when I'm in love, I'm just breezing along with the breeze. I never mind the bumps or the ruts along the highway of life. I float through life on a cloud.
And that, folks, is exactly the way you feel in the famous Dodge Air Glide ride. If you haven't experienced this thrill, visit the showroom of your local Dodge dealer. See for yourself the extra value you get in this big, new, money-saving Dodge. Believe me, folks, it certainly is more car for less money. Think of it. The new Dodge Beauty winner of 1936 now sells for only $640 and up. List prices at Factory Detroit.
Say, that is something, Harry. But how about you singing a song now?
Don't mind if I do.
And because it's light, it refreshes without filling.
Charlie, be sociable.
I am, Kay. Pepsi is a favorite of thirsty people from Maine to Hawaii, from Alaska to Florida.
Charlie,
It's perfect for parties or picnics, so serve Pepsi to your guests.
that's helpful, but
This is the sociable part. Keep plenty of Pepsi ice cold and ready. Remember, it goes fast because everybody likes Pepsi.
singing still sounds more inviting. May I? Be sociable, look smart, keep up to date with Pepsi. Drink light, refreshing Pepsi. Stay young and fair and debonair. Be sociable, have a Pepsi.
But singing doesn't say, pick up an extra carton of Pepsi today. Better yet, get a case.
You do that.
And welcome back to the Esports Radio, to the Esports Radio. Once again, I'm Cole Culture Gibson. We're pumping our way through this launch party right now, trying to work our way through it, getting through a day. Snow starting to melt just a little bit here in Atlanta. I don't know where you are, wherever you are. I hope you're safe. Enjoy your winter wonderland, stay out of the cold. But we're going to keep powering through this program. And so, moving on next to our next part of our League of Legends hour. Gone a little bit over the hour, but it's no worries. It's no worries. I just figured out that, hey, I'm off work today, so I can go for as long as I want. But I'm not going to take up too much of your time unless you enjoy listening, and then, I'll take as much time as you want. But anyways, moving on, we're going to talk about my power rankings coming into the season for NA and EU. Now, if you have disagreements about anything, you want, talk about anything I've said so far, feel free to obviously hop into the chat, and I will read off anything you say, and we will talk later on. Hopefully, I'll be able to take calls. I was not able to download the stupid actual console from my computer. I'm using the web player right now, but once we get set up, I'll be able to take calls, as well as take some chat from you, the listeners. But also feel free to hit me up on social media, Twitter, Facebook as well. I'm at The Culture Live. That's underscore at The Culture underscore live. Live is capitalized LIVE all the way. Or hit up the show Twitter at The Esports Radio. You can find us on Facebook under that as well. We're going to get right into these power rankings though. We're going to start with NA and the NA predictions as well. So I'm going to read through them really quickly, and then I'll tell you my reasoning behind them. So, for North America, we have number 1, Team Liquid, 2, TSM, CLG at 3, coming in 4, Cloud9, Clutch Gaming at 5, FlyQuest at 6, 100 Thieves at 7, Optic Gaming at 8, Echo Fox at 9, and Golden Guardians 10. And let me give you a little bit of an inside peek at my philosophy about power rankings. Now, I rate my power rankings based on where I think teams will finish at the end of the season. It's not this is how good I think they are. type deal right now, because a lot of these teams still have question marks. It's a lot of, you know what? I think this is how things will pan out by week 10 of the LCS season. Or week 19? Week 9? Yeah, doing that math right. Week 9 of the LCS season. And let me tell you why I think it's this way. I don't think it's a surprise the top 4, Team Liquid, TSM, CLG, and Cloud9, those will be interchangeable throughout the year, but I don't think they'll move out of the top 4 unless something catastrophic happens with these lineups. But what I think some people, when I was talking with some friends, some of my caster friends over at Compete League, shout out to the guys, was my 5th place choice of Clutch Gaming. And just as I said it in breaking them down as a team to watch, is I think people are underestimating this team. I think that they are good enough to get a 5th place spot, maybe 6th place, maybe FlyQuest circumvents them once some of these questions that everyone has are answered. But I think the way this team is built, how solid they are, solid consistency can get you a top 6 finish in best of ones as long as you have the pieces. And I think they have all the pieces to not only start off well enough with how their schedule starts off, but also grow as a team to retain that 5th, 6th spot. FlyQuest, I believe FlyQuest and Clutch will basically jump between 5th and 6th with each other by season's end, but that's how it should be. Now, although I'm an avid Optic Gaming and 100 Thieves fan, they're both under my love of TSM, of course. TSM, you'll always have my love. Mwah. But 100 Thieves and Optic Gaming, I'm a big fan because of Optic Gaming, because of Nadeshot and where he comes from, being an Optic Gaming alumni. I still have a lot of questions about these two rosters, and I think that 100 Thieves, even though I gave them a lot of praise earlier, I don't think that they have the stuff it takes to overcome FlyQuest and Clutch Gaming in consecutive best of 3s. Maybe once I know enough about how Meteos and Ryu performs on the squad, maybe I'll change that and I'll move 100 Thieves in FlyQuest or Clutch Gaming spot. But until then, I just can't tell you. I couldn't tell you how this might pop off or go down. So it's sort of up in the air for them right now. I wish I could say better, but I can't. And I'm very sorry to anyone that might try and crucify me for that. But I'm very bold in my predictions, and I'm stubborn as a mule, and that's what I'm going with. And I have Optic Gaming in 7th for the same reason, or 8th in this for the same reasons. Too many question marks right now, and even then, I don't know if the talent that they have assembled on this team, mainly from their top and support positions, is enough to boost them over 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, or even Clutch Gaming, if Clutch Gaming is to fall out of the top 6. Echo Fox, I think they're just one big ball of rage and toxicity waiting to happen. I think Huni will be able to, if Huni doesn't pan out to be the leader that they need him to be, he will be a heavier tilter of Dardoch and Phoenix and Adrian than any other factor the team can be, because Huni can be kind of troll. We saw his top Yasuo in, Worlds, and while that was a strategy that almost won them a game, it didn't work out. But then also we saw his top Lucian back when he played for Immortals in the NA LCS. But I still think that Echo Fox on any given day is still better than Golden Guardians lineup, just because Golden Guardians, they're too fresh, they're too raw. There's too many rookie talents. I think in the long term, it's good for High and for Loco Doco to have that raw talent, that raw freshman talent to mold however they want to. But until then, this first year at least, I don't see them placing anywhere above 10th. And thank God there's no more relegation, because I don't know if I have them winning a relegation match. Obviously there's no challenger team to equate them to, but I'd be worried for them if they were in a relegation spot if they were a fan. But let's move over into these week 1 predictions. The predictions. We are going to have Team Liquid versus TSM as our first match of the NA LCS. And in this matchup, despite my TSM fandom, I'm having Team Liquid win. And this is why. I think Team Liquid has a lot of things shored up. They went Korean boot camp. They got a lot of the dust knocked off, the rust. It's like a bunch of old friends, save for Impact, once again learning to play with each other. And I think that was accomplished in Korea. I speculated was accomplished, and I think TSM they still have to gel with Sven Mithy and Mike Young on this roster, and I think this is not a very good first game to be doing that, against Team Liquid, the most high-powered roster in LCS. I think Team Liquid takes this one. I don't know if it will be a close game or not, but I do think Team Liquid takes it. Moving on to our next game, 100 Thieves versus Optic Gaming. I do pick 100 Thieves to win this game. I think 100 Thieves, it's just a matter of their unknowns are lesser and not of the same magnitude as Optic Gaming's unknowns. I think 100 Thieves, an Afromu-led 100 Thieves, can take a game off Optic Gaming in the first week. Clutch Gaming versus Golden Guardians, I think that's kind of obvious. Clutch Gaming wins that one by a landslide. FlyQuest versus Echo Fox. I actually have FlyQuest winning that one because I just don't know. I'd have to see this Echo Fox team in action before I give them any win so far. And I think even in action with unknowns, FlyQuest is still a better team on paper and just in their intangibles. And then we have CLG versus Cloud9. I think CLG takes this one, and solely based on the fact that Svenskeren is the new jungler in the lineup, as well as Licorice. I think that CLG, I think Darshan will be able to take advantage of Licorice in the first game of their year. Just because Licorice is a rookie, he'll have the rookie jitters, he'll have to get adjusted. And I think Svenskeren will just have to get adjusted to how Cloud9 works and operates and how he fits within them. And I think to that extent, Reignover can take advantage of that, and CLG should be able to get not an easy one, but at least a good, clean victory against the side of Cloud9. And then Optic Gaming versus Team Liquid, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. Team Liquid takes one by a landslide. Like, if Team Liquid doesn't murk Optic Gaming, I'm going to have some serious doubts about this Team Liquid roster going into the rest of the season. TSM versus FlyQuest, I do believe TSM is still good enough, especially after their first game, being able to figure out what's going on, what's working, what's not working, that they can take the game against FlyQuest. I actually have in my upset game of the week will be 100 Thieves winning against CLG. And I hold this belief because I think that Afromu will come in with a fire in his eyes. Not saying he has anything against CLG, but it's always on a different level to face your old squad. And I think Afromu will be able to come into this game with a fire in his eyes, and he'll be able to carry 100 Thieves, whether it's with help from Someday, Meteos, and Ryu, or just carrying their dead carcass. He will take this game against CLG, and I'm basing it solely on that factor alone. And then we have our last two matches of the week with Cloud9 versus Golden Guardians. I have Cloud9 winning that game, and then I have Clutch Gaming beating Echo Fox, because until I see Echo Fox, come out the gate with anything, I can't put any stock in, their team or what they might do. But let's move over to EU to Europe, and I didn't review players to watch and who to watch, but I did have enough time to make power rankings and predictions. And here are my power rankings as follows. Misfits, Fnatic, G2, and Splice, your top 4. Schalke coming in at 5. UOL at 6. Rawcat, H2K Giants, Team Vitality coming in at 7 through 10. And, I think this shouldn't surprise anybody. I think Misfits, Fnatic, G2, and Splice are your top 4 squads. I think Fnatic might be the only one that people are iffy about. If if you're listening, you might be iffy about. And it's because, they got a new support. The team was okay last year. They made a spectacular Worlds run, but a lot of people were really doubting them coming into Worlds. They didn't get out of groups, but, the effort they put into doing so. Or did they? Did Fnatic get out of groups? Someone hit me up on Twitter, the chat, and remind me if they got out of groups or not. I can't remember. I want to say they did not. I think that they did get out of groups. They did get out of groups. I don't need your help. Don't send that message. I don't need your help. I don't need you. They did get out of groups because they got into that 3-way tie where they found a way out of it. But for most of the year, for most of the summer split at least, they underperformed. The Rift Rivals, they flopped. Summer split, they flopped in playoffs, but I think with the coaching staff they put behind them, and having Dylan Falco as their head coach, and then having Woodbuck as their general manager, as a team manager. I think they have the infrastructure to really take this team to the next level and at least get them in top 4. I don't know where these teams will pan out, but I know that's the top 4 right there. Schalke coming in with a pretty strong lineup, actually, for a team that just got back into the LCS. But I don't think they have what it takes to beat Misfits, Fnatic, G2, or Splice, even in best of ones. Maybe they take a game off of Fnatic and Splice, but I don't think they beat this Misfits and G2 roster. Not yet, anyways. Excuse me. And they fall in at 5th. UOL falls in at 6th. And I really only base this prediction for power rankings off of the fact that I don't think Roccat, H2K, Giants, and Team Vitality have what it takes to really get over UOL. You know, UOL is definitely not as strong as they were last year, moving out a lot of pieces, losing Hillisang, losing Xerxes to Splice, and losing Vizicachi to Schalke 04. They come back with only, I believe, 2 members in Exila and their AD carry coming back. But I still think that they will be strong enough to not lose to Rocket, HK Giants, or Team Vitality. Maybe losing one best of one on a bad day, but not falling out of the top 6. But don't look for them to go too deep in the playoffs. And then the other 4 teams are kind of unmentionables. You know, Rocket, quote-unquote, the best team in the EU because they are able to beat G2, Fnatic, and Misfits, all the top teams, but still I just don't believe in this roster, or this organization for that matter, until they show some marked signs of real improvement beyond a 7-game win streak that came at the last bit of spring split. H2K basically sold out. They complained to Riot, which kind of makes me angry, and I'll get into that on the next show, but they complained to Riot, lost all their players, and now, you know, they're at the bottom of the barrel. And you know what? I think they deserve this one. They deserve to be at the bottom of the barrel. The way they handle themselves, yes, I will admit they did do a lot for advocating for EU to get more benefits from Riot. But at the same time, the way they went about it, it just seemed like they got greedy. It was like, okay, we opened the floodgates, but they went from, you know, savior, leader to we're like a little kid that keeps doing things and keeps putting out these statements to see what we can get away with. And eventually, you know, Riot kind of stopped listening to them to an extent, and at the same time, basically, HK had to drop their roster because of the way things went out of their favor, and I don't expect them to do much of anything, but I still think they're going to be better than Giants and Team Vitality. I don't believe in the Yamato Cannon's team yet, even though he does have a record of the year after he coaches a team of bringing them back and making them a championship caliber team. He does have that track record going for him. So who knows? But until then, I have Giants and Team Vitality at the bottom. We'll get into predictions because a lot of these shouldn't be surprises at all. G2 versus Misfits in a clash of last year's summer finals. I have Misfits winning. And just because this G2 squad isn't as high powered, they don't have Sven and Mithy markedly. The only returning member is Perks, and they still have to gel with each other in a competitive LCS on-stage manner. I think Misfits will at least take this one. The next one, though, will be up in the air for sure. Vitality. We have Vitality versus H2K, and I'm actually going to give this one to H2K. I still think H2K, even though I just ragged on them, is better than Vitality. I think H2K takes the one. It'd probably be a close game, but H2K still takes the win. UOL versus Giants. I think UOL takes that one. Schalke 04. I have them beating Rawcat. Fnatic. I actually have Fnatic beating Splice in this first matchup. And it's just because, once again, it's a team in Splice that has a lot more unknowns with 2 new pieces on the squad than Fnatic does right now, where Fnatic's squad is basically the same, save a new support. So I have more faith in Fnatic in this first week, at least, to take the win. I have Vitality beating Giants, actually. I guess you could call that my upset pick of the week, but I mean, that's kind of like a toss-up. It'll be the one game that no one watches because it's the 2 worst teams basically in the league. Splice, I have them beating UOL. H2K losing to Fnatic. G2 will beat Roccat, and Misfits will beat Schalke 04. None of these should be any surprises to anyone, at least most of them in the EU. And because it's the same thing with EU. Once again, it's a lot of, we have our top 4, top 5 teams, and everyone else is kind of like meh, where you have your above average team that can beat everybody else but might drop one for whatever reason, and everyone else is garbage. You know, it's a dumpster fire. Nothing's really changed. I don't think anything will change until 2019, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I was here to give you my predictions, and there you have it. There they are. Let me know what you think. Tweet at me, comments, let me know. Do you think my picks are garbage? Do you think I'm right? Are you halfway in between? But we're going to move on in the hour. We're going to finish up with these World Power Rankings from ESPN. They do this every year, where every year at the start of the season they give you almost like their too early World's Power Rankings for all the regions around the world. So the criteria is numbers 1 through 10, World's contenders. Numbers 11 through 20, playoff contenders. 20 through 30, middle of the pack. 31 through 40, struggling. And then 41 through 50, bottom of the barrel. And it did not surprise me to see 1 through 5, 6, 7 being, Chinese or Korean teams. They're the ones that always consistently perform on an international stage at Worlds, making top 4 to top 8. And then they put Misfits at number 7, And I believe I really do love their reasoning. I really do love it, because Misfits, that roster they had, they found a way to replace Power Vivo with someone who's just as good, maybe a little bit worse than Power Vivo, but Sinkux is still one of the top mid laners in the EU, and then Mickey X is also one of the top supports in EU. So they've wasted no time in replacing them with two talents that were solid and can definitely grow in the coming years. The rest of their squad is still there because, what was the best part of their game at Worlds? It was their macro play, and none of that changed. They still have Maxor, who turned out to be an extremely intelligent player on the world stage. Got a lot of praise from everyone, and their coach is still there. They didn't have moving parts except for mid and support. They replaced them adequately, and so it makes sense that in their too early top 50, Misfits would be at number 7 as a World's contender. What surprised me was TSM, Team Solo Mid, being 8th in their World contenders as your highest ranking North American team. And it's kind of the only pick that surprised me in all their picks, because you'd think by now people would lose faith in TSM. And I am a TSM fan, but apparently the pundits and the writers at ESPN and other places still have some faith. These contributors still have some faith in Team Solo Mid and how they made their moves. And yes, adding Sven and Mithy was a very big move. Very, very, very reassuring as a TSM fan to see them upgrade almost. I won't say they upgrade over Double, but just the way the duo works. The duo as a duo is an upgrade over Doublelift and Biofrost. And then they were able to keep Bjergsen for another year. And then they added Song as a coach. And a lot of people had issues with Parts coaching, mainly his pick and ban. They pick up Song to shore that up. And now we move into the year with a stronger TSM. I was just surprised that they almost gave them the benefit of the doubt when I would have been very skeptical, and I wouldn't have put them top 10, maybe in the 11th playoff contenders, 11th through 20th range or something like that. But they have them up there, so hey, who knows? We'll see. Can TSM live up to the hype? But we're going to hit another commercial break. When I come back, we're going to jump into Overwatch, talk about the first week of the Overwatch League, talk about standings, how the first week looked, and was esports dependent on the first week of Overwatch League and how the stats performed, as well as talking about players that impressed, or teams that impressed me and teams that underperformed for me, and then my week 2 predictions. So we'll get into that when I come back. This has been the Esports Radio Show. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. We'll come back in just a few moments.
So looking for the play as Tucson comes in with an Abyssal Voyage Keen in on the backside, looking for score. It's a little bit of damage in onto him, but instead they want Smeb. He's going to be the juicier target, the easier one to lock down. Event Horizon not quite going to be able to lock him in. He's got that orange to keep himself safe, and Smeb, will he make it out of here alive? Event Horizon comes down.
Oh, it just does.
No, he made it out! Are you kidding me, Smeb?
floors, doors, walls, halls, white sidewall tires, and old golf balls.
Sinks, stoves, bathtubs he'll do. He'll even help clean laundry too.
Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute.
Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it.
Can he clean a kitchen sink?
Quicker than a wink.
Can he clean a window sash?
Faster than a flash.
Can he clean a dirty mirror?
He'll make it bright and clear.
Can he clean a diamond ring?
Mr. Clean cleans anything.
Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute. Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it. Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
And welcome back to the Esports Radio show. I am still here. You know, didn't go anywhere. Culture never leaves. The culture never leaves its people. Culture always stays around with its people. So, but we're going to go ahead and hop into some Overwatch action here. And Overwatch League, the first week, in my eyes, was a huge success. But I'll dive into that in just a second. We're going to talk about the week 1 results and, you know, where we stand in the league so far. So right now, standings wise, actually, we're going to go ahead and go over to the schedule first and talk about how week 1 went. So in week 1, had a lot of good matchups. The hype matchup, though, was Dallas Fuel versus Seoul Dynasty, and it did not disappoint. The match actually ended with Seoul winning, but based off of a tie, because Dallas Fuel could not stop them from getting to the first part of the point, only drew with them in the final map on the hybrid map on, I believe it was Numbani. So Seoul Dynasty did take that. So if you don't know Overwatch, or you at least don't know these rosters, Dallas Fuel is the old Envy roster, who was at least the best Western team in the world. And Seoul Dynasty is the old Lunatic High roster, the best Eastern team, if not the best team in the world in Overwatch, back before Overwatch League started, with Overwatch contenders in the tournaments they were hosting. And then we had a lot of other results. On the first day, we had Los Angeles Valiant taking down San Francisco Shock 4-0, and for the San Francisco Shock fans, I don't think anyone was surprised by this result. I think they were surprised by how poorly San Francisco played. It was an underperformance from San Francisco Shock just as much as it was an excellent performance from the Los Angeles Valiant. The next game we had Shanghai Dragons versus Los Angeles Gladiators, where Los Angeles came out 4-0 Shanghai Dragons. And I think that what happened was people expected, Los Angeles Gladiators had a good, solid roster, but I don't think people expected Shanghai Dragons to get stomped that much. This was a Chinese team that came in with some really high-profile names like Dia, and just another team that underperformed in their first week. They went 1-7 in their first week as a team, looking to bounce back in week 2. On Thursday, we had the London Spitfire taking out the Florida Mayhem 3-1. Philadelphia Fusion in their first game ever in Overwatch League, period. No, they didn't have a preseason because of visa issues, so this is their first game of anyone seeing them. 3-2 victory over Houston Outlaws, a Houston Outlaw team that came in very, very hyped and fell to Philadelphia Fusion, and it was just as much as players like Cool Matt and Jake not performing as it was the Philadelphia Fusion beating people's expectations. And then we had to round out Thursday, New York Excelsior versus Boston Uprising. New York Excelsior taking the match 3-1. Friday, we moved into Friday, Los Angeles Valiant handing Dallas their second loss, but also handling them as well. Dallas did get a tie out of the map, but it was a 3-0 overall. Florida Mayhem losing to the Boston Uprising 4-0. San Francisco Shock getting a win over Shanghai Dragons. And that's how badly performing the Shanghai Dragons team was in the first week. They lost to the San Francisco Shock 3-1. And then finally on Saturday, we had the London Spitfire getting a 4-0 over Philadelphia Fusion, New York Excelsior with a 3-1 over the Houston Outlaws, and then the Seoul Dynasty getting a 4-0 over the Los Angeles Gladiators. Something to take note, all the teams that had majority Korean squads dominated in the first week. Between, I believe, Los Angeles has a Korean majority squad. London Spitfire is an all-Korean squad, I believe, and Seoul Dynasty being all-Korean. They all dominated in their first week of Overwatch League. So that will take us over to the standings. We have, overall, Los Angeles Valiant, London Spitfire, Seoul Dynasty, and New York Excelsior all tied at 2-0. You know, those Korean teams, you know, it's not just League of Legends. It's in almost every other esport outside of Call of Duty and CSGO, where they dominate. You have Boston Uprising, Los Angeles Gladiators, San Francisco Shock, and Fusion sitting at 1-1 in that tie, all tied. Well, technically they're all tied for their second place spot, but sitting at 5 through 8 if you look at the page. And then 9 through 12, you have the Houston Outlaws, Dallas Fuel, Florida Mayhem, and Shanghai Dragons sitting at 0-2. So 2, maybe 3 names in those 0-2 teams that you didn't expect to be down there in that position. But they'll see if they can bounce back soon. Actually, Overwatch League starting in just a few hours, back up again with San Francisco Shock versus the Philadelphia Fusion as your first match of the week. But on to the next part of our segment, we're going to talk about the first week finish. And I heard a lot of this going around on Twitter, a lot of people in the Twitterverse and esports talking about this. Is the future esports dependent on Overwatch League's first week? No, I don't think so. Based on first week results, no. And I think a lot of, smarter esports experts and pundits did say it was based, they were saying, the overall success throughout the season. But some people were saying based on the first week, they were either overhyping it, overjudging it, overjudging it just a little bit. Thinking, if the first week goes downhill, all of esports goes downhill. And I don't believe that. I think esports is a lot stronger than that. And I actually believe esports is a lot stronger than this first year of Overwatch League. If the concurrent views drop, I think they're stronger than this first year of Overwatch, although it doesn't look like it shows any signs of dropping off. I was perusing Twitter earlier this morning, and I saw a tweet from Ben Fisher, and it stated that the week 1 of Overwatch League viewership, according to the league, had a 4-day average concurrent viewership of 280,000 viewers, me one of them. The peak concurrents were 437,000 viewers, 10 million unique views worldwide, and opening day alone had 408,000 average viewers. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. And I think that it's only going to get more consistent. I predict that they're going to have a consistent viewership, if not over 100,000, at least, if not over 200,000, at least over 100,000 weekly, even as the season draws on. I think it's a very well-run league. The production quality is great. The studio is great. The play is very competitive. I mean, even inside some of the matches, even though the match results are like 4-0, you still feel like there are teams out there that have a lot of potential to get wins, even between Seoul Dynasty and maybe even like Philadelphia Fusion. The matches feel close, and maybe it's because the action is high-paced, but I mean, it actually smashed a lot of people's expectations, and I think it can only go up from there, the way they're running it. But I think it's definitely kind of like faulty logic, thinking that the first week of Overwatch League was, the end-all be-all. If it was successful, then it was going to drop off. Now, if we, in 5 weeks, if it's lower, then you might want to rethink, if you're Blizzard, how you're running it. Maybe there's a production quality issue. Maybe people can't keep up with as many games as you're playing per week. But I know I personally watched every single game of the first week that I could, and I went back and watched VOD. So I don't think that'll be a problem. It'll be in year 2, in my opinion. What happens in year 2? Will it stay the same in year 2? Will they make improvements to keep viewership at the same level? Or will it completely dip off in year 2 and years beyond that? And I think the trend of people in traditional business and sports, taking a lot of faulty advice, that's when you might get people worrying about, is this a good trend? You might get people not investing as much time as they were in it before. But we're going to move on to our teams that I think impressed me in the first week, and teams that underperformed. I kind of alluded to it a little bit in the earlier segment, but we're going to go into a lot more detail. Teams that impressed me were the Gladiators, LA Gladiators, the Philadelphia Fusion, and the Boston Uprising. And I think Boston, because I think out of all four of the teams that were of all the teams from North America that were not heavily Korean influenced, I think Boston was one of the ones where I had a lot of question marks. I know they had my boy Gamsu on the team from League of Legends, so I was coming in looking on paper compared to the rest of the league, wondering how they would stack up against Houston Outlaws, Dallas Fuel, and some of these top teams that came in very hyped. And mind you, I'm not going to sit here and act like I am a Overwatch pundit expert. I am relatively new to the scene as far as following players heavily, so I can't give you a lot of data based on players, but just based on looking on paper and looking at, I did go back and review some VODs. I did watch enough to know what they've done. On paper, Boston Uprising was a question mark for me. They outproved my expectations, and so they overperformed on my list of overperformers. Sorry, getting a little bit of a dry throat here as we head deeper into the show. I didn't get enough water. I didn't eat enough Wheaties. So next time, I'll have to be more prepared for that. But my next overperformer I talked about was the LA Gladiators, and what made me put them above Boston and Philly was that for the Gladiators, I just love the way that they use their subs and how they strategically use their team throughout the week, how they would sub in players like Hydration in certain situations, and basically they were maximizing the impact of their players based on the situation. And I believe Dallas Fuel did something similar, but I saw it more out of Los Angeles Gladiators, where if it was a map like Ilios Control, and they knew Hydration was better on Farah than some of the other DPS players they had in Surefour and others, then they'd sub him out. There was no, well, Surefour is the best player on the team, of course we're going to keep him in. No, every situation has a certain strategy, and every player fits into that strategy a certain way. And although they ended the first week 1-1, that really caught my eye and it impressed me. And looking at the teams that they played, the one loss they had was the Seoul Dynasty, the number one team in Overwatch League right now, in all of Overwatch. So that's kind of to be expected, to drop a loss to them. Other than that, I think if they play any other team, even Dallas Fuel, the way they start out the week, I think Los Angeles Gladiators starts 2-0. Now I'm looking for big things from them in week 2 as well. And Philadelphia Fusion, now I don't know going forward how they would do, but they did impress me in this first week alone, just based on the fact that they came out the gate swinging and grabbed that first win. Yes, they did lose later, but I believe, once again, their first loss was to London Spitfire, another high-caliber, all-Korean team. So that's almost a loss you expect, but to take a match against Houston Outlaws when no one's seen you play, you haven't had any stage experience because you missed preseason, that's very, very impressive. And moving on to teams that underperformed, I think Houston Outlaws is definitely at the top of my list because they came in as one of the more hyped-up majority North American player teams. They had Cool Matt, Jake, players of that caliber on their squad. People expected more, and a lot of it was players underperforming. It wasn't a team-wide thing. It was a lot of players underperforming in certain scenarios. I think they're going to get it fixed coming into week 2. Flame tweeted out, he said the team is coming in with a better mindset. He did do a little bit of complaining. He did complain a little bit and say he didn't like the fact that they have so many maps to play, but he did say that they were coming in with a better mindset into week 2, so we'll see if they perform better. They definitely disappointed me, especially since I'm a Houston Outlaws fan. They disappointed me in that aspect. The second team, obviously, that disappointed a lot of people were the Dallas Fuel. Not to say that loss against Seoul Dynasty was a close match. Seoul barely eked it out. But then against Los Angeles Valiant, while we all did, I think, at least I did, believe it was going to be a close match, I didn't think the Valiant would beat Dallas. Dallas came in with so much hype as the best Western team. Valiant coming in with a lot like agility, a lot of players like agilities, and so on and so forth. But I didn't think that it would be enough for them to actually take the series over Dallas Fuel. And I think Dallas Fuel has a lot of reflecting to do going into week 2. I don't think that they came in thinking that they'd have as much serious competition. I believe they did very well in the preseason. I think they might have come in thinking outside of the Seoul Dynasty that their week would be relatively easy. But I think coming in week 2, we should expect them to come out and get at least one win, if not 2. Looking at their week 2 schedule, they should have a pretty decent time finding a win this week. They play Houston Outlaws and they play the London Spitfire. Actually, no. I think that if they find a win against Houston, they'll be close. But you could see Dallas Fuel going 0-2 this week. I take that back. If Houston comes out swinging and Dallas isn't ready like they were not ready against Los Angeles Valiant last week, you could see them go 0-2 again and drop to 0-4. You could see the perceived best team in North America, in the Western region, in their region, drop to 0-4 in the first couple of weeks of Overwatch League. So be on the lookout for that. And then my final team that underperformed was Shanghai. And I think it's just because they came in with, I wouldn't say as much expectations as the Korean teams coming in from the Eastern Overwatch in that region, in that area, but they definitely came in with enough not to start off 0-2, especially not to drop 7 maps and only win 1. The 1-7 start was abysmal, and I think they're too talented of a team to have a 1-7 start. I think, you can go 0-2, but at least make it close maps, come out with a better map record, better map score than that. We'll see if they can bounce back. Week 2, they face off against the Florida Mayhem and Houston Outlaws. So, potential win against Florida Mayhem. Houston Outlaws, it is up in the air, but we could see them go at least 1-1, claim a win under their belt, maybe get a better map score. Who knows? But we are about to go to one more quick commercial break before we finish up the Overwatch Hour. And when I come back, we're going to talk the week's 2 schedule and matches to watch, and my week 2 predictions. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Shaz has to get behind cover. Oh, come on! I just stepped down. I want to get back up again, Flitter. But there's nothing you can even do about it. Oh, please! Enough!
Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute.
Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it.
Floors, doors, walls, halls, white sidewall tires and old golf balls.
Sinks, stoves, bathtubs he'll do. He'll even help clean laundry too.
Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute.
Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it.
Can he clean a kitchen sink?
Quicker than a wink.
Can he clean a window sash?
Faster than a flash.
Can he clean a dirty mirror?
He'll make it bright and clearer.
Can he clean a diamond ring?
Mr. Clean cleans anything.
Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute. Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it. Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Amari e sigarette e noi seduti qua nel rosso pomeriggio di sedie e tavolini di qualche bar. Amari e sigarette perfetti e sconosciuti
I think the big question
che si guardano negli occhi poi battono i bicchieri e partono a cantare
into back to the show. sounded cool. Now I'm not so sure. But regardless, I'm going to go ahead and pause that before I let it go too far, because that was... Wow! Anyways, we are back with the Esports Radio show. Heading into the 2 o'clock hour, we are about to cover the Week 2 schedule of the Overwatch League. So the matches will be actually starting today in just under 5 hours. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And for the week, we have the Dallas Fuel versus Houston Outlaws, New York Excelsior versus the Los Angeles Valiant, the Philadelphia Fusion going up against the Los Angeles Gladiators, Seoul Dynasty against Boston Uprising, the Shanghai Dragons looking for that first win against the Florida Mayhem, London Spitfire looking to keep their momentum rolling against Dallas on Friday. On Saturday, to round it off, we have the Los Angeles Valiant and London Spitfire, which is probably our match of the week for the week. The Los Angeles Gladiators will face off against New York Excelsior right after that, and then the Boston Uprising will face the San Francisco Shock. So let's go ahead and roll right into the matches that we're looking to watch for in this week 2 of Stage 1. I think the obvious match to watch for off the bat is the New York Excelsior versus the Los Angeles Valiant. These are both teams that both have 2-0 starts. Los Angeles is looking very, very good, and so is New York. And I think that you gotta look toward... Ooh, I'm so sorry. Ugh, that was nasty, friends. I'm so sorry. Nasty! But yeah, there will be one of the matches to segue right through to look for coming into this week. They'll be playing on Junkertown, Horizon Lunar Colony, Oasis, and Numbani. But to be honest, though, neither of these teams showed any weaknesses on any of these maps after week 1. So it should be a slugfest for the ages coming up on Thursday. And then we will have, in my next match to watch, we will have the London Spitfire versus the Los Angeles Valiant. Again, I'm not putting Spitfire up against Dallas Fuel as my match to watch. I'm putting Los Angeles versus London, first of all. Just because, once again, these are both teams that are 2-0, and this match, once the match is played, one of them will be 3-0, 2-1, and it'll be up to either Los Angeles or London, whoever is that 2-1 team, to make sure they don't drop to 2-2 and possibly get tied up in the overall standings. Once again, 2 high-powered teams, London and Spitfire, coming out strong, representing EU, while Los Angeles, I'm looking this entire week for Agilities. He had a very, very good week 1. I'm looking for Agilities to have another good week 2. And he's going to be my X Factor, the player to watch for Los Angeles. While the final match to watch for of the week, and this is my upset match that I'm picking right now. Listen out for this. I'm picking Boston Uprising to take the series against Seoul Dynasty. I don't think Seoul Dynasty will be ready for it. They have great players. We all saw what Fleta did last week. But I think the Boston Uprising, I think they're coming in. They'll be underestimated. They showed that they can hang with the big boys last week. Close series last week. I think they can do it against Seoul. And those are my matches of the week to watch. I know it was kind of short. I didn't get to get super deep into it, but I'm trying to rush through to make sure we don't go too far over time right now. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at my predictions for next week. You already have one of them. I'm going to give you another one, or my full predictions for the entire week before we head over into our Call of Duty hour. Yeah, I said it. Call of Duty hour, baby. Call of Duty. But here we go. Day 1, I have the San Francisco Shock actually beating the Los Angeles Valiant 3-1. I have that as another upset pick. And these I posted a day before. So I'm coming back, and I'm realizing how dumb I am after looking at these. But I'm a man of my word, and I must stick with my predictions. So I have the San Francisco Shock beating Los Angeles Valiant 3-1. I have the Shanghai Dragons losing to Los Angeles Gladiators 3-2. I have the Dynasty. Oh, wait. Never mind. I tricked you guys. I fooled you. These are my week 1 predictions. My week 2 predictions bad, man. It feels bad. I actually thought I was a really terrible person there for a second. I thought that I had literally just called the demise of so much based on that alone. So, let me pull those up really quickly because I need to know what I'm talking about before I spew any more madness this way. Da-dum, da-dee-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-da, da. So, okay, finally found them. They are somewhere buried deep within the confines of my folders. Sorry to you guys out there. I thought I had them ready to be pulled out, but apparently last night, playing my last game of ranked, shouldn't have been my priority. Should have been getting my file ready. But anyways, here are my predictions for week 2. And so for day 1, I have the Philadelphia winning 3-2 over San Francisco. I have Dynasty getting that hot 4-0 against the Florida Mayhem. I have Outlaws winning 3-1 over the Dragons to end the day on day 1. Day 2, I have the Fuel taking out my boys, the Outlaws, unfortunately, 3-1. The Excelsior will fall to the Valiant, 3-2. And then I have the Gladiators taking a 3-1 win over the Philadelphia Fusion. Day 3, we have Soul taking a 4-0 against Boston. Once again, as I said, I didn't make these predictions before. So even though I get the upset now, minds can change, hearts can change. And I think the people of Boston have what it takes to take out Soul Dynasty. But who knows? We will see on day 3. And I have the Dragons getting their first win against the Mayhem. I have London losing to the Dallas Fuel 3-2. And I have London coming back and winning against the Valiant on day 4. While I have the Gladiators getting the win against the Excelsior 3-1 and Boston 4-0ing the San Francisco Shock. So that's how week 2 is going to go. You might call me a bonobo now, but hey, my week 1 I got 8 out of 12 right. So that's a pretty darn good percentage. So watch out. Don't count me out yet, people. But that should wrap up our Overwatch hour. We are going to move on to our next hour, and that will be Call of Duty. Like I said, Call of Duty coming through to finish up the show. So I had a message. I thought I got breaking news, but it wasn't breaking news. It was someone messaging me on Facebook. But anyways, we will have our Call of Duty hour to finish off the show, and then I will give my lifestyle look in, which will include a tribute to the awesome games done quick guys. And then finally, my final word, and then we'll be done for the first show of the Esports Radio. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
That needs to make this fight happen right now. They need to grind it out, and they're getting the kills to do just that. Pine a little bit on his own here. Oh, but he takes Clockwork out as he comes in. There's another one of Linkser. Here's the hard carry. Gets Benny with the Deadeye, and there's another one. Pine, this guy is unstoppable.
Dr. Weird's mystery will be continued shortly. Say, by the way, Doctor, is mystery your sole pleasure?
Young man, what could be more pleasant than mystery?
Well, music, for instance. That's
music, why, of course. Have you ever heard my clanking of chains?
Doctor, I'm afraid you've got me wrong. I mean the kind of music men hum or whistle when they feel on top of the world. And, gentlemen, one of the many things that give you that tip-top feeling is the pleasure of being well-dressed. Perfect taste is a criterion, and in hats, there's nothing smarter than an Atom. From stem to stern, your Atom hat gives off that look of quality. You see quality in the carefully molded shape, and in the richness of the genuine all-fur felt, and in the subtle color shades. Next time you pass an Adam hat store or authorized dealer, stop in and try on an Adam. Once you see and wear an Adam hat, you'll agree that today, as before, Adam is one of America's outstanding hat values. Now, the good Dr. Weir.
Thirsty people everywhere prefer ice-cold Pepsi-Cola. And because it's light, it refreshes without filling.
Charlie, be sociable.
I am, Kay. Pepsi is a favorite of thirsty people from Maine to Hawaii, from Alaska to Florida.
Charlie.
It's perfect for parties or picnics, so serve Pepsi to your guests.
That's helpful, but...
This is the sociable part. Keep plenty of Pepsi ice-cold and ready. Remember, it goes fast because everybody likes Pepsi.
Singing still sounds more inviting. May I? Be sociable, look smart, keep up to date with Pepsi. Drink light, refreshing Pepsi. Stay young and fair and debonair. Be sociable, have a Pepsi.
But singing doesn't say, pick up an extra carton of Pepsi today. Better yet, get a case.
You do that.
And on that note, we are back. Time to get into Call of Duty, ladies and gentlemen. My favorite section. Because for those of you that don't know, I am a Call of Duty baby. That was my first esport. It's where I got my start in the fabulous world of esports. So we're about to hop into it right now. The first thing we'll hop into is the most recent news, which is the CWL New Orleans event, otherwise known as NOLA. Call of Duty World League, kicking off its 2018 with one of the biggest CWL events in Call of Duty history. Had the biggest open bracket with over 200 teams, and one of the biggest prize pools outside of the World Championship. So a lot of great competition the entire weekend. It's just fierce, great to see the passion from everybody that competed. But only one team was allowed to walk home with a trophy, and that team was Team Caliber, your two-time, second in a row Call of Duty World League champions in Call of Duty World War II. They went home with $80,000 plus 25,000 pro points, and that's split between all the players. So that's 25,000 between 4 players. You do the math. I know 80,000 divided by 4 players is just straight up Monty. $20,000 in Monty, baby. And I'll read through the rest. I'll read through the top 12 because that's what's important here. I'll get to that in a minute. But your second place team was Luminosity, Rise Nation coming in third. Looney and the boys coming back after a little bit of a lull in their playoff, in their LAN performances, coming back strong. And then we had fourth place Red Reserve. Sort of a squad that came out of nowhere, but the boys and Red Reserve managed to place fourth and then therefore lock up their spot in the Pro League. And then we had Echo Fox in 5th, E United in 6th, Evil Geniuses 7th, FaZe Clan 8th, Optic Gaming placing in 9th through 12th, which is their lowest placing ever. They didn't even get any money for this. All they got was pro points. They didn't get money. And this is their lowest placing in a long, long time, at least with this iteration of the squad. It was a very disappointing weekend from the boys, and I think this is just like issues they've had for a while. It's like the same syndrome. You know, it was the same plot line, same story of, you know, we're supposed to come in favored to win the event outside of TK, come in, have a great group stage, in the group stage 4-0, pool play 4-0, I mean, and then you get to bracket play, you lose your first game to Echo Fox, go down to lose the bracket, and then you lose to Red Reserve. And while Red Reserve was an unknown, you shouldn't have been in that position to get to the losers bracket in the first place. I highly doubt they make any changes. However, if I was a betting man, if they were to make any changes, it would be to Karma. But to be honest, it's too early in 2018 to be making any roster changes if you want to seriously be a competitor for the World Championship. So we'll continue Doom Clan, Envy, and Splice rounding out your 9th through 12th. All of these teams, 1 through 12, are your teams that made it into the Pro League. So congratulations to these guys. So we read it earlier, but we'll read it again. Your Pro League will consist of Team Caliber, Optic Gaming, Rise Nation, Echo Fox, Doom Clan, Red Reserve, Team Vitality, and Mind Freak in Division A. And Division B will be Luminosity, United, FaZe Clan, Team Envy, Evil Geniuses, Splice, Unilad, and Epsilon. And to be honest, both sides of these of this stage 1 is stacked. There is no one side favorite over the other in terms of, division of death, I guess you could call it, if you wanted to coin that phrase. Both sides have teams that could take games off of each other in a best of 3 any given Sunday, outside of maybe Mind Freak, Vitality, Unilad, and Epsilon. But even Vitality had a very strong showing at CWL NOLA this past week. I don't think you can take any of these teams lightly going into it. So that should start up fairly soon. I believe the first games will take place. Where is it on this article? The first games will take place on the 23rd and play through March 22nd, with playoffs beginning April 6th. So that all you Call of Duty fans, you have that to look forward to. But we're going to get into something that happened during the event that was kind of a sticking point of controversy for a lot of people. And it happened to do with Enigma 6, Evil Geniuses, and Pro Points. So the story is that Doug Censor Martin, who was a well-known figure in the community, felt like it was pertinent for him to go online on Twitter and claim that Evil Geniuses had cheated them out of their Pro League spot, because he said that they played matches they could not possibly play because they're on a plane. They gave them free wins, and they manipulated the Pro Point system. And therefore, the points that he had taken away from him for himself manipulating the Pro Point system, and he actually admitted to this. He himself said that they should have points deducted too, and therefore Enigma 6 should still have more points than EG. And he went on Twitter, ranted about this, exposing himself. And on top of that, he went and got into Nameless's face, one of the members of EG, with a camera and wiretapped without his knowledge, trying to get him to say that they did get free wins. Now, if you read the quote from the article that Dexerto wrote, and from other reports, Nameless never actually said that they got free wins. He said they had to do what they had to do. He didn't say they got free wins. And we're going to dive deeper because Aches came out after Doug had harassed several of the members of EG about it. Aches came out and said, hey, we did play those matches because we live 2 minutes away from an airport, so we scheduled our GBs. We've been playing GB. He said we've been playing GBs all year since we figured out how the system worked. We scheduled our GBs so that we would be able to play them and get to the airport because we live 2 minutes away from the airport. It's not that hard for us to get there. We don't have to leave as early as other teams. He had the screenshots to prove it as well that he played those matches. And he said we don't have any further proof because we didn't think we'd have to videotape ourselves playing the scrims because we didn't think this would happen, that Doug would do this. And so, Doug just looks salty. And so to continue the story, Doug, basically Nameless and the rest of EG, well, mainly Nameless and Aches, came out with this evidence. Mike, one of the contributors, if not, he might be the man who runs Dexerto, came out with a picture of them also playing GBs after the tournament, because another thing Censor said was, or another complaint was, Censor was like, there are also matches during the tournament that they couldn't have played because they were at the tournament. It makes no sense. And Mike from Dexerto had a picture of EG playing those matches because Ake said, as soon as we got out of the tournament, we knew what we had to do. We went and spent 3+ hours playing GBs in the lobby where they have a lot of the setups for teams to practice and warm up. And it was timestamped for basically during the tournament, but after they got knocked out. So right now, EG's story is looking completely legit. And on top of all this, to give further context of Doug being a snake, and I'm going to say it out loud right here, Censor is being a snake. This is the same guy that before the tournament poached Blast off of Ricky Stacy's team, Doom Clan, before the tournament started. It was a week before the tournament. I believe when I read the article, or when I read Ricky's statement on Twitter, it was Tuesday. The Tuesday before the tournament, Ricky came out, and I remember reading his tweet. I was like, wait, what's going on? Because he started to, posting negative tweets, and he revealed in a tweet longer that Censor had gone up and down his roster asking players to leave to join E6 because E6 needed the pro points to not only get close to the pro league but also avoid open bracket and get into pool play automatically, which is where Ricky and them should have been. So it should have been Ricky and Doom Clan in pool play and not Enigma 6, should have been vice versa, but Doug went up and down the lineup, and Ricky told everybody to stay loyal, and everyone did except for Blast, because Blast was feeling frustrated with scrim results or what have you. He's a young player, made a poor decision. So, and I know there's no contracts in Call of Duty against poaching or anything like that. I don't believe any of the players for Doom Clan had a contract signed per se. They might have had like a skeleton contract just so they could play for the tournament under Doom Clan, and that was it, but nothing that said the player couldn't leave. So Censor poaches Blast not only to get more pro points but also get into pool play, comes back, gets dealt with karma ironically, and gets knocked out after seeing those 0-4 in pool play, and gets knocked out of pro league contention while Ricky's team makes it into the pro league, and then wants to come back and accuse EG of cheating their way into the pro league, when as far as the evidence shows so far, everything that EG did was legit. And all I can say is, hey bro, karma, it hurts, it stings, man. That's what happens when you're a snake, though. And I've never liked Censor. I've always thought, he was a decent player that got a lot more praise than he should, but he showed up in big moments for FaZe and other teams he played on, and that's where he got a lot of his claim, as well as his YouTubing. But now I've lost all respect for Censor. I've lost all respect for Enigma 6. I won't come after Blast. He's a young player. Young players make bad decisions. Hopefully, someone will give him a second chance, but who knows? Call of Duty is a very small, family-esque community where if you screw one person over, you might as well have just blacklisted yourself. But I hope someone else gives him a chance. But what Doug Censor Martin did, what Enigma 6 allowed him to do and just acquiesced to, is just completely wrong. It's terrible. It's not in good taste or in good sportsmanship. And you know what? We cut the snakes from the lawn early. This is what happens when you become a snake. You get cut. That's why we cut the lawn early. Cut the snakes from the lawn. Because you don't deserve to be there anyways. Your team was garbage anyways. At the event, you don't deserve to be there, and good riddance. And I hope that more repercussions come. So he basically outed himself. He thought that he had an angle on Enigma, on EG, and therefore he outed himself as manipulating wins. And now it's coming back to bite him, because now not only does EG have evidence that, hey, we did play these matches. These weren't free wins. We played all of them. And and other teams came out that they played. I said, yeah, they played them. Not only did they come out and say that, but now he has no evidence of the contrary. Now he's outed himself as a win manipulator to get in. So not only are you a snake, but you're also a cheater. But he's also had a history of cheating before. So this is really no surprise. So you know what? Karma works out. Things happen. And hopefully we'll move on. Censor needs to go back to just doing YouTube and being a YouTuber, because... And the worst thing is, I don't even know if he'll be able to be back on the analyst desk in Call of Duty. Like, I don't know. When I say it's a tight-knit family community, like, the analysts, the casters, and the players are all cool. So when you mess over one of them, you mess over the entire higher echelon. So who knows what he'll be able to do after this. And I'm waiting to see a statement from Enigma 6, and maybe from Censor as well, taking back what he said, because this was kind of heinous. But it was a short Call of Duty hour, but that's all we have for right now. We're going to move on to the gaming lifestyle, and what I like to call Culture's Corner. So we're going to talk about AGDQ and about the event and how I love how they're doing and what they're doing. We're going to talk about the Logan Paul controversy and if it's affecting the gaming world. And then we're going to talk about the biggest sponsorship in LCS history so far. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.
Yo-ho, yo-ho, brushless or lather, boys, whichever use the notion. 50 cents for shaving cream, $1 for the lotion. Old Spice means quality, said the captain to the bosun. So look for the package with the ship that sails the ocean. Yo-ho, 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 yo-ho.
Yeah, that's right. We're back. Short break. Didn't want to take too long. We're coming up on the 3 o'clock hour toward the end of the show, so I want to go ahead and try and get to this as much as possible. We're going into gaming lifestyle. You know, I like to think of this show as not only an esports show, but also a lifestyle show. But we're going to keep it gaming because we're cooler than everybody else, and therefore we don't be like everybody else. So, moving into gaming lifestyle right now. The first thing I want to do is talk about Awesome Games Done Quick, because I've been following them since last year's event, and every single time they do this, I watch it, and I just want to give a quick tribute to them and how they raised the $2.2 million for charity, and it's going to the Prevent, for those that want to know where it's going to the Prevent Cancer Foundation. And, you know, it's just awesome seeing the gaming community come together to put on a gaming event like this where a bunch of people speed run it and do it for no benefit to themselves. This is speed running at its purest, and it's hard. It's hard to do speed running. It's hard to play the game normally. Think about how hard it is to look up, research ways to beat the bosses. This isn't cheats either. These are just ways to quickly beat these levels and beat bosses in ways that have to be perfectly timed and perfectly executed. It's not an easy feat, and for these people to all come together in one area at one time and then do it for no benefit of their own outside of helping a charity is great. And then it's great to see people watching from the gaming community donating $5,000, $2,000, you know, from their own pockets. I don't know how many people have $2,000, $5,000 laying around, but, you know, it's just, I love it. I love to see it. So great job to them. I'm looking forward to the next event next year. I'm looking forward to seeing other games getting speed run. I want to see some, I wonder if they'd ever speed run Call of Duty or something of that nature. That would be kind of cool to see. But regardless of what they speed run, I'm going to be watching it anyways. So I'm going to move on to the next topic. And it's going to be on a little bit more of a negative note. It's going to be about, as we all know, the Logan Paul controversy with how he went to the Japanese suicide forest and filmed the dead body. YouTube has brought back repercussions on him and took away his Google preferred status, which, if you don't know what that is basically when you go on YouTube or you search YouTube as things, he was one of the channels that would pop up first as the preferred channel you go to if you search something that was relevant to his content. They've taken that away from him. But I want to talk about its effect on the gaming world, because I read an article that was kind of disturbing, and it really made me worried about how this might make people view gamers. And we already have a hard time in gamers beating the reputation of, you know, being shut-in people that have, you know, personality issues in the world outside of gaming and esports. And this doesn't help when I had the article right here. That I was looking through, and Justine, who was a very popular YouTuber and streamer, went to CES and said she had multiple people at various booths asking if she also filmed dead bodies for her channel. And I feel like that's a red flag, because that means that people outside the gaming community and also outside I want to say the U.S. I don't know where CES was held this year. I didn't follow it, but I don't believe it was held in the U.S. Let me actually look it up real quick right now so I can be completely accurate. It's an international consumers electronic show. And yeah, while it is at Las Vegas, it's international. So you have a lot of people from different countries coming to showcase things and come see the event. And you had multiple people asking her, is this basically how YouTubers, streamers, and gamers do things? Like, it reflected on people's personalities, and that's not how anyone in this community is. You know, Logan Paul is an idiot. I never watched his videos because I knew he was an idiot. And I will never watch any videos, especially now. And for you to do something like film a body, and I don't care what sort of response you have to it, like what sort of coping mechanism you have, quote unquote, but it's very easy to, if you have a coping mechanism of laughing, making humor, to cut that out of the video and come back, or even better yet, don't put the dead body in at all. I believe someone on Twitter suggested this, and I highly agree with that. I was like, you know, you might have the initial reaction when you get there, but then you cut the videos, cut to you in a hotel room, say, hey, we were there, we got there, but then we saw something very, very disturbing, and you can describe what you saw, and you know, describe your feelings, but you don't film it, then laugh about it. And it was awful, it was disgusting, and for it to reflect on gaming culture is really worrying to me, because I just don't want people ever assuming me as an esports personality or brand, or someone else out there. I have plenty of friends who are trying to brand themselves as esports personalities in some way in this industry. Having people from other countries or outside the esports gaming and entertainment space coming up to them saying, hey, do you do this to get content out? Do you really do these controversial things? So I think, you know, obviously Logan Paul has done a disservice to everyone. I think YouTube should come down a lot harder on him. I think he should have had his YouTube channel taken down. I think, or, you know, his TV show will probably get canceled. I think he should have had his YouTube channel taken down, you know, or at least restricted, something that would negatively affect his bank account to where, yeah, he might not be Google preferred, but he has so many subscribers that it won't matter. It will pop up in their windows anytime he uploads a new YouTube channel. So that, I don't think it felt like a slap on the wrist. And I know, like, for people that are more into the space, they're like, oh, wait, no, that's actually a big deal. But for someone like him who already has millions of subscribers, despite the hundreds of thousands he probably already lost, he's still going to be making a good amount of money off that alone. And I don't think he should be allowed to do that anymore, especially if he's going to continue to put out controversial content, because, you know, guys like this, he's obviously not smart enough to know he shouldn't be doing this. So he's obviously not smart enough to know that he shouldn't do anything like this in the future. So it will come back up. And and I think he should receive the maximum punishment. I think YouTube made a mistake not giving him the maximum punishment. And we'll see how they change their policies from there. They said they're going to add people, and they're going to hire staff to look out for videos like these so they can take them down. But human error is usually worse than a machine's error, and how YouTube sometimes let the videos through. I think human error and giving human judgment on what's a good video and a bad video, I mean, even if you have a standard operating procedure or guidelines, I don't think that's the smartest way to go. But we'll see how it pans out in the future. Ending this segment on a lighter note, we have the best sponsorship, in my mind, in LCS history. Snickers sponsoring FlyQuest. If you haven't seen the news or the commercial, you should go on FlyQuest Twitter and look at it. It's actually a very enjoyable commercial. It's actually very enjoyable. I liked it. I thought it was cool, funny, humorous, and I think this is another big step in esports, getting more of these brands. You know, you see Coke giving subtle sponsorships. They'll have Coke on Worlds things and other things of that nature, but I'm glad I'm seeing more outside food brands, outside bigger brands, you know, that are more visible than, you know, you always have like Alien where they'll have their Twitch commercials, and you'll have other places that have Twitch commercials, but brands that are more visible, that people outside of esports knows more. I'm glad to see more of them joining the fray with Snickers. And I'm actually even going to play the commercial for you here so you can get a listen for it. And if it piques your interest, go watch it before we move on to our next segment. So we're going to lead into a small commercial break here for me to catch my breath. Listen, I hope you love it. We'll be right back with the Esports Radio.
Wait to see Flame again. He should be here any minute now.
Flame?
Hey guys.
Flame?
You look so good.
Wow, so well dressed. Ooh, did I get it?
Yo-ho, yo-ho, brush, let's all lather, boys, whichever you've the notion. 50 cents for shaving cream, $1 for the lotion. Old Spice means quality, said the captain to the bosun. So look for the package with the ship that sails the ocean. Yo-ho, 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 yo-ho.
And we are back out here on these evil streets. For those of you that are still listening, thank you for sticking through with me for the entirety of the show. We're getting close to the end. We're getting close. One more segment. We got one more segment going on. And this is what I like to call Culture's Corner, where I get a chance to rant without any, I won't bring up any stats, news articles. It's just something that's been on my mind for the week. So, here we go. Culture's Corner. So, this week on Culture's Corner, I'm going to talk about the need for esports journalism training in 2018. And this is something that has bugged me because I saw it was a recent spat between some prominent names in esports journalism and esports, entertainment personality, i.e. Monte Cristo, Richard Lewis, Thorin, and a friend of mine who also is pretty well known in the space, Chopsky. He runs Chopsky TV. And they were talking about, how there are publications out there that do crap esports journalism. And it devolved into a whole bunch of name calling and all this other stuff. But the general point I did agree with, which is you have about two very reliable sources of esports news and journalism. And that is ESPN Esports and the Score Esports. And other than that, the rest of it comes, an independent talents doing YouTube and other things. But there is no real syndicated. There are no other syndicated reliable esports journalism sites. I do include Invin Global as well, where you feel like that every single article and every single interview that comes out is genuine, well done. It's not just a clickbait or a hit piece that someone comes out with. And I think that's just due to people not having the proper training. It's a lot of people just going out and saying, hey, I want to write about this, but I was never taught journalism. I didn't go to college for journalism, so I'm going to try and wing it and go on examples and do the best I can. But what we need to see more of is specialized training, and we're seeing some of it in schools. A few schools, very few schools, but we're seeing some of it where there is specialized esports journalism out there to teach people how to cover esports properly, along with the guidelines of AP style, how to properly create a lead, investigative journalism, things of that nature. And I think we need to have, I wish they would have modules available for people, investigative journalism modules, just your average journalism 101 module that people can access for esports purposes. And I wish some of these people that were talking about it and, bashing the subject would do these things. I don't know if they are already, but I personally haven't seen anything. And that's something that I really hate. It's a pet peeve of mine, is that when you see people complain about something, but they don't offer up solutions, they just complain about the problem. And yes, while it sounds good to complain about the problem and it gets people in an uproar, you coming without a solution just kind of leaves it up to speculation, because at the end of the day, these prominent people that come up with these issues are those same people that have the power to change them. You know, you're the one that people listen to when the issue's brought up. You also have the power to change it at most levels, whether you start offering, you know, modules that you create and make in YouTube videos on, this is how you cover esports journalism. This is how you cover esports news. This is how you investigate. You know, this is an investigative journalism course, or these are some sites where you can take them. And we need to see a lot more of that, I think. And if we don't, journalism is going to continue to be the same 2 or 3 names throughout the entire year. People will be continue to be falsely led, you know. And another thing is accurate reporting, even for some of these sites that are up, you know, like, or reporting where they don't leave out details. Journalism, I'm a journalism major, and journalism should be the facts, straight up facts. There should be no leaving out things to make the article juicier for people. There should be no bias involved. It should be, these are the facts. This is what he said. This is what she said. This is what the judge came down with, or whatever other factors, but it should be straight up facts, and you let the public decide where their allegiances lie, where their thought processes lie. And as like I was reading with the Dexerto articles, yes, they were good articles and they gave you information about what was going on, but they also left out certain pieces, as in, hey, with the Doug Censor-Martin article, they left out pieces where, hey, oh yeah, EG came back, and they updated this, but even in the updates, they didn't come back and really lay out the story fully and completely, in my mind, to where it was just facts. You could tell they're trying to sort of lead you down a path, and that's not the type of journalism news we want in 2018, in a time where it's so volatile in journalism. That's not the type of journalism we need, is people trying to lead others toward a conclusion. Just give us the facts. Let us base our opinions off of those facts. And if you can do that, then you've done your job. Case closed. It's over. So that's it for me for my corner, for, you know, my soapbox, Coach's Corner. And so now we're going to move in to the final piece of the show, which is the final words. The final words of the show, which, you know, is going to be my 2 cents, leaving out what I have to say before the show ends, obviously, by the title final word. And all I have to say is, hey, we cut the grass for snakes early. We cut the grass for snakes real early. Looking at some people, you know, shout out to them people. And then, who watches The Watchmen? Think about that next time you read an article or listen to your favorite esports personality on Twitter. Who watches them? Who's fact-checking them? Look for your facts before you go all in when someone accuses something of something else, or someone brings out a fact. Wait for a response. Look for another news article that might say differently. You know, get the full picture before you make a final judgment. You know, and hey, we cut the grass of snakes. I'll see you guys next week. Next week on the show, I'm going to go over the first week in NA LCS, the EU LCS, and how that went down. What results did we like? What was unexpected? And what are we looking forward to in week 2? We'll cover week 2 of the Overwatch League, and, you know, performances that stood out and how things should work out for week 3. And then as well, we'll talk more Call of Duty and get ready for the Pro League. But for now, this has been Cole Coach Gibson. This is the Esports Radio, and I'll see you guys later.